welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you. How are you?
Congratulations.
How are you doing? Thank you. How are you? How are you, sir?
How are you, my brother?
Good, sir. Good to see you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
With this, we celebrate democracy. Peace for all.
Amen.
And a united, well-endowed state of Osun. You did not conquer anybody. You won election. That is the essence of democracy. Don't make a single individual a victim of your campaign. Call for the reconciliation. Expand your coast. That is the only way you can give thanks to Osun people. Not the way you sang it or celebrate it. It's the way you act it.
I'm here to thank Mr. President, the father of the nation, because he fought for this democracy. That is why he allowed free and fair election. And that is the result. That is why I'm here to say thank you for making sure that democracy lives in Nigeria.
So if you were advising someone like Tinubu, what will you be saying now?
He should not open his mouth again until election day.
He should just go and dance booger.
He should just let other people speak, because each time Tinubu opens his mouth, it's like he's scoring another own goal, and it's quite unfortunate because look, Tinubu, you can't take it away for Tinubu is a seasoned administrator. He was a very good governor in Lagos State, and he was a very good investor on human resources. He's brought out a lot of, just name them, Aregbesola, Osinbajo, and he's got a high to form a good team. And I have no doubt that if of Tinubu of 10 years ago will form a very good team in the villa for Nigeria. But the Tinubu of today, I'm not too sure, and that is one of the reasons why I can't confidently say I'm going to support this campaign. So if he wants to really go ahead to win this election, his chances are a bit okay, but the more he opens his mouth, the more he sort of just make false errors. Even eating out, even people who are traditionally his friends will start wondering, is everything okay there?
6:30 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, 1:30 p.m. in New York City, wherever in the world you're joining us from. Welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. Our guest today is Kayode Ogundamisi, political analyst, activist, broadcaster, and long-time observer of Nigerian politics, whose journey has taken him from student activism at the University of Jos to political advocacy and broadcasting in the United Kingdom. A former Secretary General of the UniJos Students' Union, Ogundamisi was detained following the student protests surrounding the 1990 Gideon Orka coup attempt, an experience that helped shape his lifelong engagement with power, democracy, and accountability. He later founded Liberty Forum UK, hosted Politrick with KO, served on the United Kingdom's Independent Monitoring Board, overseeing prison conditions, and has remained an outspoken voice on Nigerian affairs. Politically, he has never been afraid to change course, from supporting Muhammadu Buhari and working with Aisha Buhari's media and campaign team in 2015 to becoming a vocal critic of the Buhari administration and subsequently the Tinubu government. Known for his willingness to challenge government and opposition alike, Kayode Ogundamisi joins us on 90 Minutes Africa to examine the aftermath of the Osun election and, more importantly, what its outcome tells us about the battle for Nigeria in 2027. Please join me in welcoming to the show Kayode Ogundamisi. Kayode, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rudolph. It's been a while.
I know. It's nice to have you. People like you, people tell me that I should be bringing you every week so that we could do a hangout,
Yeah.
There's
Thanks.
need to discuss Nigeria every week and Africa in general. It's unfortunate that we are now in political season. We narrow things down to Nigeria, but I think whenever we talk about Nigeria, we're also talking about Africa because some of the dynamics in Nigeria, they're also the same thing going on across Africa.
Absolutely.
Again, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about Osun, what happened in Osun, but because it's been a while, I don't think we've seen you since Buhari died.
No, I don't think.
No.
I think we spoke before the election. Oh yeah, yeah. We've not had anything since.
Buhari
exactly.
Died. Yeah, exactly. Did you go to the funeral? Let's start from there.
No. The last time I saw him was when he was still president.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that if he were to be alive, that the political environment in Nigeria today would have been different?
No, I don't think so. He was alive and he was a sitting president when he stood aloof and saw to the emergence of Tinubu as the candidate of the APC by standing aloof. Forget all those rumors about him anointing another candidate. I think he did a see no evil, hear no evil, and say no evil. And here we are today. I said it then that the APC chose a wrong person, and I still maintain that. I've got some sort of relationship with the current president. I was part of his campaign during his re-election in 2000 as governor when he was doing his re-election. I was part of that campaign, but I strongly did believe, like I said in your show back then, that his mind might be in the right place in terms of the economy, but his compassion for the common man on the street are very distant from where his mind is. So it's a wrong choice, and we're here today. There are some parts of the macroeconomics that he's getting right, but he's completely detached from the reality of our people. So yes, I don't think Buhari. I think there are lots of things Buhari did, and I was quite critical, even though I was a supporter. I was in his campaign team. That was a shock to me. Like, he see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil when it comes to corruption, even amongst members of his own inner caucus. And the trial of Malami and co proves that theory right. That the strongest point in which we supported him was anti-corruption, but that was his weakest point. Ironically, the strongest point was there were a lot of structures put in place. Lagos Ibadan train was just, it wasn't something I thought would happen from scratch to finish, and some other things there. But yeah, let's respect the dead, as they say in Africa, and focus on the present.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. And let's go to the present. There was an election last Saturday, not yesterday, the one before, and in Osun State, and we all know how it turned out.
Yeah.
What is your diagnosis of what happened?
I think people are celebrating. So the first thing is we need to give credit to the people of Osun State. if there's anything they have done, they have shown Nigerian a template of what is possible when a people come together, right, and say, look, give us 50,000 per vote, we're still going to vote our choice. Of course, there are about 400,000 people that still voted for the APC, but majority of the people of Osun voted in one voice and voted Adeleke. They are court parties. He joined that court party not even up to a year ago, maybe like about 5 months ago, to show you the sophistication of the people of Osun State, to be able to identify the logo of a party that they were not familiar with within a record period during an election, and uh, vote against almost 22 governors. The president of the country, forgets this thing that they said he wasn't interested in the election, vote against the sitting Senate president who was on ground, an invasion of military forces that was almost equal to almost 2% of the total population. We need to give credit to the people of Osun State. And that is a template for the generality of the people of Nigeria, that despite the ability of the state to rig election, despite the fact that the INEC chairman still got a big question mark on his head, that if more people turn out, there has been the number of people in this election increased. If more people turn out, you would limit the ability of these people to rig election, and the margin was so wide. That is not to say that Adeleke is an angel. That is not to say he's the best that could have ever happened to the people of Osun State. But if there's anything to the credit of Adeleke, he has been paying salaries, he's been paying pension, and for a state of Osun, the standards are not really high in terms of their expectations. They want salaries to be paid, they want pensions to be paid, construct some roads here and there. Even though you construct the roads in January, during rainy season, it get washed away. Well, it's done well. At least is won that election.
So, do you think this victory was a Accord victory or an APC defeat?
It was an APC defeat, an egg on the face of President Tinubu, because he was interested in that election. Forget what his paid uh, internet rats are saying. He was interested. First, his cousin, well, brother, we never know which is which. Some say it's his half brother. He claims it's his cousins. Let's leave that aside. Was imposed on Aregbesola. Oyetola was imposed, to be governor. Ironically, the current man who is their candidate was actually the choice of Aregbesola back then. But Tinubu was quite interested in the election and imposed Oyetola. So if he could do a lot of pump a lot of resources on him, then why would you think he's not interested in his cousin being governor, choosing a candidate now? Then apart from that, the man literally abandoned his minister. In fact, I actually forgot that he was a minister until this election.
Most people didn't know.
You know, we
That
forgot
that
about
tells
this.
you how well he's doing.
Yeah, when I saw his face, I'm like, oh, this man is still in the cabinet. Like, if the president, who is his brother or cousin, could create a ministry to keep him, oiled up towards this election, why would you think he's not interested in that election? So it was a defeat for the APC, a big blow on the president, because that is his state of origin. It's from Iragbiji in Osun State.
Look at the way you said it, like it's well-known facts.
It's
But Tinubu does not agree with you that that's his state of origin.
Sometimes people ask me, where are you from, and I say I'm British. you know, and in a certain situation, I say I'm Nigerian. So the fact that I acknowledge that I'm British in certain situation does not mean I'm not from Nigeria. Everyone knows, even the president himself knows is from Iragbiji, but he chose to be from Lagos. We can't. It's a free country. That is, I was born in Lagos, but I always claim a career. I always say I'm a career, but you can't take me away from the fact that I'm also from Lagos by birth. And some of the things we are always trying to say is that people should be able to claim places where they are born, they've lived for a very long time. So I don't hold that against him. The fact that he continues to actually try to shy away from his state of origin tells about his own character. Ironically, the governor of Osun State, made it known that this is the state of the president, and the president did not deny it. So, what other confirmation do you need?
We come back to what happened in Osun State, but you brought up something that is connected to something that is in the news, and I think we should just touch on it now. So here in the United States, there is an ongoing effort to find out things that are in the files of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I don't know if you're following what is going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you know, and where do you think it might end?
Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is I think Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and all the ones going for this drug information in America are extremely lazy. Uh, the first task for Abubakar, if he was serious about Nigeria, was to reach a compromise with Peter Obi for the opposition to be united and present a common united candidate in this coming election. If they had done that, it wouldn't be needing to be chasing shadows all over the place. Uh, that is the going to file cases in court, hiring, what do they call them, lobbyists in America is the easiest one. You can give them $2 million. But the most important task was being able to unite the opposition amongst one candidate for the interest of the country and Nigerians. It's failed in that. Now, that is not to say that the president does not have questions to answer, because he's not going away. The drug related issues are not going away. So people are interested. But is that going to have a significant impact on the results of the election in Nigeria? I don't think so. The real work that needs to be done is for the opposition to be united, present a common candidate for the interest of the country. I mean, if Tinubu is going to win this election in 2027, it's not because he's done anything good. It's because, again, the opposition has decided to divide the vote. Remember, I said it during our last interview before the election in 2023, that the only way Tinubu would win that election is if both Atiku, Peter Obi, and the opposition are unable to present a common candidate. So while the issue about his involvement in drug dealing and what have you is quite important, but these issues have been there. When we with Sahara reporters went back then in those days, we reported on this. It's not a new thing; it's just being rehearsed. There are people who would continue to vote for Tinubu even if it's found that he was involved in drugs in any way. I think the real work would have been to unite the opposition in the country.
We're going to get to that too, but let me push a little bit, because we had this conversation yesterday, and some people felt that it was a waste of time talking about this. I want you to put on the hat of a political analyst, which you are, or an African who understands how the West, how they operate. A president like Tinubu, who we can say, based on what is coming out, based on the FBI saying that, we can't release this information to the world because it will compromise our methods. So it tells us on the basic that there's something about him and these agencies, including maybe the CIA and other intelligence agencies. Someone like that, is that person not so compromised that the country that the person is governing is at the hands of these countries that have something about the person?
So the first thing you need to look at is I have consistently spoken against some of the things this government have been doing. If there is a document that they can get in the villa indicting me, right, and I know I am clean, would I not be one to be saying, release that document? So the first question is, why is the presidency and Tinubu as the president resist? The president, if everything is clean, should be the one like saying, they're not asking for his medical records. You should be saying to the FBI, release everything. I am as clean as the dove. The only thing I did was I mistakenly uh, had drug money in my account and I forfeited it voluntarily. You cannot find anything else. The fact that the presidency, particularly the president, is challenging that means there is something much more serious that we can come to that conclusion. Secondly, America currently, in my opinion, are not interested in releasing this, not just this government, because this presidency is in terms of the economic policies is towing the line of the Western IMF recommendations and what have you, bowing down, kneeling to Trump, towing to Trump to the point where even a letter from President Trump is a campaign material, and as far as they're concerned, is playing ball. And for as long as he's playing ball, do you think if he was the president of Venezuela, that the Americans would not have released all these documents? The one that they
Yeah, Maduro.
arrested. Yeah.
Maduro, yeah.
But Maduro, if it had been Maduro, or do you think if it had been, what's the name, the one in Burkina Faso or the
Mhm.
one in Mali,
Ibrahim Traore.
Ibrahim Traore? But they have a precedent, this president, in terms of his foreign policy, in terms of our voting patterns in the United Nations, is kowtowing to the Trump administration. So why would they want to destabilize, quote and unquote, what some people would describe as a puppet, basically? So they would continue to, for as long as they can, you know, protect this precedent.
The other part of it is, the concern some people have that in such a situation, let's say you use yourself as an example. Let's say
Yes.
they have something about you that you don't want them to show.
Yeah.
They can also make you do things. The government can make you do things or say to you, do this, or otherwise we will show this. And people are concerned that that kind of thing might be going on behind the scene as we speak.
It's not even it's not, the concerns are not they are not flippant. You need to see the body language of this current administration, as far as the Americans are concerned. It's quite clear, even in the way they handling the first sign was the handling of the ECOWAS crisis when he became ECOWAS chairman. I'm going to invade Mali and is in Niger and get it sorted. This government seems uh, to be comfortable with what people would describe as Western imperialist. And if they don't have something right on you, you would not be kowtowing to whatever dictates they tell you to do. So currently, it would not be a wrong conclusion to say we have a proxy in the villa.
Mm. Now, you said, finally on this topic, you said that most likely they are not going to release anything because it doesn't do any
Serve
good
their
for it.
interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't do anything as long as he's doing what they want him to. That's so. But and that ties to what you were saying about what the opposition is doing. If this is the only thing they have as what will help them to win an election, that they will again end up being disappointed.
It is so unfortunate that they had 4 years to prepare. They had 4 years to form an alliance. They had 4 years to sort of continue mobilize the Nigerian people, and all they could fall on is run to America for what we already know. Look, don't let's deceive ourselves. We majority of Nigerians already have taken a position on this. If you ask me, if you put 10 Nigerians in the room, including supporters of Tinubu, and say, was your president involved in drug dealing some years ago? I can bet you 9 will tell you yes, because the facts state it, that money was found in his account and this happened. As a matter of fact, his supporters says the same. Reno Mokiri, who is an ambassador in his government, told us so. He went to, you know, Fani Kayode, who is an ambassador in his government, told us so. So his own supporters already told us that it was not just that. his spokesperson, what's his name? The other guy,
Boala, Daniel.
Boala told us so. So what are we talking about here? So three people in his government already told us the president was involved in drug dealings, and he confidently appointed those people. So that is why I'm saying the focus should have been to mobilize the Nigerian people, show programs that are alternative programs, better programs to this government that Nigerians can key into towards the 2027 election.
You mentioned if you bring 10 supporters of Tinubu and ask, and they will say this. But I'm thinking about this, thinking in large scale, globally, Africa wide, and historically. Do you think that Nigerians understand what we talked about, what could probably be going on now that we may not know until 50 years from now when they classify some things like what happened in the Congo or in other parts of Africa where you have puppets of the West governing those territories and doing things for the West? Do you think that Nigerians currently, the majority of our people, understand that this is something that is more important than the next election, more important than anything else that have happened in the country when you have puppets like this, or people who might be compromised, who might be doing what the West want them to do?
There are two classes of Nigeria. There's Nigeria of me and you and everyone watching this program who have data to watch this program. Privileged, no matter how we try to deny it. For as long as you can stream, it's privileged. There are Nigerians whose interests are what will I eat in the afternoon? How come I cannot leave my farm safely to go back home? How come I cannot travel from point A to point B? Because I probably will be kidnapped. How come I don't have electricity? You get what I'm saying? So for us, me and you, those who have access to this information, yes, we are concerned about what would happen 50 years to come. But majority, and we are in the minority, we're just loud because we have platforms. But the silenced majority who are in our nooks and crannies of our villages, in Nkpo, in Anambra, in Oka, in Zungeru, in Ikare, my village, their concern is how would I get the next set of food? How come my government cannot protect me? How come there are lots of ungoverned territories? These are more important issues to them, So even if you go to them and tell them the president is a drug dealer, if the president had been providing them with security, if the president had been providing their children, the pregnant women with good medical care, they'll say, you know what, let's have the drug dealer instead of having the angel. So for us, it's an important topic. It's very important. Online, it's good for debate. It sells blogs. It sells newspapers. But for the common man on the street, as far as they're concerned, that's a first world concern. Their real concern is that this government is failing them. The policies is driving them to their death. The policy of this government is counting them as insignificant. And they can see the flamboyance of people in this government despite the hardship. I think that is how I would describe this.
All right. We are going to go back to Osun election and the implications. And thank you, everybody who is watching us. This is the time to like and share, and we appreciate all of you.
So. This thing was yes, so.
Come and network. Everybody look here. 1, 2. All right.
I won't. I beat you guys. You beat them. I beat you. No, you beat them.
Okay.
All right. So, what do you make of what happened after? There are several aspects of that. What happened after?
I'm surprised that people are surprised. In the first instance, the Adelekes, particularly Adeleke, the businessman, and Adeleke Sheroba, that passed, have a historical relationship with Tinubu. People did not know that Adeleke, the Davido's father, donated heavily to Tinubu's campaign. And I would not be so it shouldn't surprise anyone that after this he had to go to Tinubu. And again, people also overrate this current Adeleke Jackson, the governor, in terms of he has no ideological base for governance. It's just popular. He became governor by accident, and he did the right thing, quote and unquote. And he's lucky the people resisted, stood by him. But that does not mean that overnight he's going to become a Showore. or is suddenly overnight going to become a very strong-willed ideological person that will stand his ground and stand with his people. He would of course go back, because also remember he's been blackmailed. The federal government held funds for the local government for years. For months. I think about 15 months. They railroad him in the states. And if there's any president that has used presidential powers more than any other president, is Tinubu. We thought Obasanjo was bad in terms of using presidential power, but Tinubu has turned this presidency into like a KBAC. That is why every governor will go Koto, and about that. So I'm not surprised that is run back to Tinubu, but the people of Osun have clearly, I see comments saying, you cannot hand over our mandate to the president.
So that brings me to this video. Let me play it and get your reaction to that.
Yeah.
Baba Nurudini Jackson. Ẹ má fàyọ̀ fọ́ o. Ẹ má fàyọ̀ fọ́ o. Àwọn ọmọ ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ni ẹ dúró tì bí wọ́n ṣe dúró tì. Olójú tó ṣojú gàdàgbọ̀n gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn bàbá tí a ti máa sọ kò ní ìdá lọ́nà méjì. Ajé òsìlè rorò kó sójúlé méjì. Ìbò Ọ̀ṣun state táà ti dì fún yín jẹta tẹ́ ẹ ti jáwé olúborí ní kọ́lọ́hún ó ṣe kẹjọ permanent tẹ́ ẹ fi parí ìjọba tí ẹ má fi Tinubu lọ́kàn balẹ̀ wípé ìbò Ọ̀ṣun tó jẹ́ presidential election tá a fẹ́ dìjọba ìsìn kẹ́mi lọ́kàn balẹ̀ pé ọmọ Ọ̀ṣun ó dìbò fún irú erékéré wo lẹ̀ ṣe fún sẹ́yìn náà ṣé ẹ tó dàgbà tó báyìí ní èjì yín ẹ ṣe làkàyè ni sẹ́yìn tí ò bá fẹ́ ni sẹ́yìn mọ́ fagídí fẹ́ ni wọ́n kó 16 governor senate president odidi national chairman gbogbo àwọn èèyàn wọn kò tì í lọ́rùn ọmọ Ọ̀ṣun ní kọ̀sọ̀ náà ṣé ẹ tí ò bá fẹ́ ni sẹ́yìn mọ́ fagídí fẹ́ ni ẹ wá ń ṣe a thanksgiving speech ẹ wá ń sọ fún Tinubu pé tó bá di January 16 ọmọ Ọ̀ṣun ẹ wá mú àlọ́ dìbò fún jẹ́ àná iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ tiyín ló mú yín dépò iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ tiyín náà tẹ̀wọ̀n débẹ̀ tó bá ti sẹ́kọ̀tà tó bá di sáàfù ẹ̀ ṣé náà Yorùbá wá jẹ́bi tí wọ́n ti máa gun irú àwọn bàbá tiwa ní kútùpà ẹ̀sìn ni wọ́n gbé gorí ẹ̀sìn lákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ẹ̀ sọ̀pàkọ́ nù ṣé ká tó wá tẹ̀yìn kùtùpà kẹ́ ẹ tó gbọ́ àlẹ́sìn lẹ́ẹ̀kejì ni kọ́ẹ̀sì agbára yín ọ̀ka Nurudini Jackson gọ́vnọ̀ Adeleke agbára yín ọ̀ka pé kí gbogbo ọmọ Ọ̀ṣun ká dìbò ẹ̀ máàs fún Tinubu agbára yín ọ̀ka ẹ má lọ gbowó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀rẹ̀ yín o tí nìkan ni ó dí o.
All right. So, what do you make of that? Do you think it's a sentiment that is
I've been seeing a lot of videos from people from Osun State, elderly, young, telling the governor, you don't speak for us. You cannot hand our mandate over to the APC. We are going to vote our conscience in 2027. And I think, you see, I don't know if you remember during our last interview when I told you that Onga does not have a tribal mark. The Yorubas, do not have a special market where they go to buy and they say, oh, your Yoruba yam is going to be 20 naira, but for the Igbo is 19,000 naira. There's no special filling station for APC members. The hunger is beating everyone equally. Look, people underestimate the impact of the recklessness of the reforms. Some of the reforms are needed, but the recklessness in which it was executed, right? People are feeling it. And that is why uh, you can't guarantee the Southwest for the president, no matter how you try to spin it, particularly Lagos. I said it the last time, people didn't believe me that Lagos was in play. Peter Obi won Lagos. This time around, the APC should not be worried about the so-called foreigners in Lagos. They should be more worried about Yorubas, that hunger is going to tell them where to vote. And that is what is happening in Osun State. If you look at the commentaries that look, we're not doing well, we're hungry, the policies are killing us, the government does not seem to sympathize with us, in terms of our current situation. So I'm not surprised that you are having people send messages to Governor Adeleke that you can maintain your friendship with the president, but do not conclude that is how we're going to go. That is not to say Tinubu might not win or show in 2027, but a lot of people are becoming independent. And look, Southwest historically, we're quite Republican in our voting pattern. Remember Obasanjo's first time, the candidate of those so-called kingmakers was Obasanjo, but the people in the Southwest voted for Olufalaye, so it's going to be an interesting election.
There was another comment that he made after winning where he said he would vote for Tinubu because Tinubu is a Yoruba man, something like that.
Oh, you mean this current video?
Yeah, not in this video. In
you mean Adeleke?
Adeleke, yeah, Adeleke.
Yeah, he said he will support Tinubu. Yes.
Yeah, because and a lot of people had issue with that. What is your take on that? People are still debating that position of Adeleke.
It will be hypocritical to sit here and to tell you that tribal sentiments do not play in our politics. It's still there. Our politics, one of the indices of our voting pattern is regional, is tribal, is religion. Sadly, it's not gender. Because if it were gender, all the women would not vote for any man in election.
And they are more than men.
They are more than men,
Yeah.
So of course there are people who still on the sentiment. Don't let's deceive ourselves. There are people who will vote for Peter Obi because he's Igbo. There are people who will vote for Tinubu because he's Yoruba, or Atiku because it's Hausa. But there's a silent majority across those tribes, and not just these three tribes. We have more than almost 300 tribes who would look at the state of mind today and say, look, is life better for me under this tribal person, this my tribesman, than it was under Jonathan or under Buhari? And they will go like, you know what, this my tribal man, has not provided me the level of comfort as those other people. So I'm going to vote the Igbo man who is the candidate, or the Fulani man who is the candidate, or vice versa. If an Igbo man feels that Tinubu has favored his business more than any other president, that's the way it's going to vote. But yes, clearly, that regional sentiment, that tribal sentiment is there, and we can't just wish it away.
Yeah, people argue that we know it's there, but for an elected official to say that that if it were to be somebody else, like I know the article during the last election said that Northerners should not vote for somebody from the South or something like that. But they were saying that if, say, an Igbo governor should say something like, "I will support Peter because he's an Igbo person," would that statement be read the same way Adeleke's statement is being read?
No. If it had been an Igbo person, it would have caused a lot of uproar. It would have been taking more, the internet would probably have blown up by now, but people overestimate Adeleke. Look, okay, don't let me go down the route of how Showore described him. People really overestimate his capacity to be in queue in terms of what to say and what not to, and what not to say, you know. So one should not be surprised. But look, Adeleke, what Adeleke said is not something that other people have not been saying, but they've been saying it in a very smart way. What's the name of this guy? Shegun Show. Is it Shegun Show me?
Yes.
He repeats it all the time on Channels TV, on Arise TV, that Yoruba should support Tinubu because he's a Yoruba man. But he says it in a very smart, indirect way that you can't pick on it. But Adeleke is not that smart, so he just said it as it is, and that's why everyone is like, "Oh, you can't say that as a sitting governor," you know. So we shouldn't place more importance on it.
Okay, one more video on this subject and we'll
I
discuss.
don't know the effort made by federal government, but I do know that parties in the election will make efforts to win election. There's nothing wrong in that. But federal government, I'm part of the federal government. I'm sure that if the president wanted to win Osun at all costs, I would be involved and I would have been there. And the governor would have known that it would have been different. Election is not won one day.
So that was Wike talking about. I know you said that that's an excuse that the government is making, but do you think that this election, what happened in Osun State, that we could read it to mean that the power of the federal government will not be a determining factor in 2027?
Okay, let me first say this. Nigerians should thank God. If you believe in Ogun, Shango, Oya, or Amadioha, or Ayilala, or if you're a Christian or a Muslim, Nigeria should thank God that that character never became our president because he was this close. Let me,
You
that's
mean
with,
Wike?
yes,
How? Where?
it was,
When was that?
it was this close to get the PDP primaries before Atiku snatched it with dollars overnight, you know. So we should, let me first say that in place, because this guy goes on national TV that the reason they lost is if the president had wanted to win it or shown by all means, he would have sent him, you know, just sort of reinforcing that, look, I'm a handsman. I know how to rig elections. I know how so now coming back to your question, look, there will be interesting times in the coming election. What happened in Osun, right, is going to be interesting in certain parts of the country. The southeastern part of Nigeria, what happened in Osun can be replicated in the southeastern part of Nigeria. You know, all the governors are jumping into APC. The likelihood is that the voters in southeastern part of Nigeria would vote a certain way against their governors, following the Osun pattern. In the north, in some parts of the north, Kaduna, Kano, there will be resistance. People will vote with the pattern of Osun. Are you following me? In certain parts of southwest, maybe Lagos and Osun to an extent, it could happen. The disadvantage the federal government have now is that they won't have the same mobilization they were able to put in Osun, because it's going to be wide. You know, you can't mobilize all. We don't have enough police and everything. So woe betide the policeman that wants to go and do a damage, to go and do the work of the president in a place like Wukari, or in a place like Abapanike in Enugu State, you know, to come and rig on behalf of the president. So in certain geopolitical zones, it is possible to replicate Osun. But will that have a national impact on the result of the election? That's a big question, because the votes will be divided amongst two opposition candidates. The best outcome for the opposition will be a rerun, you know. But in this particular case, the election is for this current president to lose. You know, I don't know what's going to be. January is still just some few months away. Anything can happen in politics overnight, So I'm not sure if I answered your question correctly, but replication will be in certain areas where currently the anger against the current president is much more than in other places. And I take the example of northern Nigeria, some parts of northern Nigeria, southeast Nigeria, pockets of southwest Nigeria, not central. Not central is certainly probably going to go the way of the ruling party easily.
All right. We take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the opposition. What can they do? We know that there is still conversation about coming together and putting out one candidate for president. And what are the options? And if they couldn't come together, what would that mean for Nigeria and the current government? Let's take a break. Thank you so much, Kayode.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday. We are talking to Kayode Ogundamisi, who is a political analyst. We're talking about Osun election, the aftermath, and what it means for 2027. We're going to have you join us in a few minutes, but let me get through questions about Osun, more questions about the whole election coming up and the opposition, what they could do.
Before then, you need to send me that musical link.
All right, I will share it with you. I get those things from different people.
Thank you.
All
Yeah.
right. So before we go to the opposition, do you think that the political coalition for Tinubu that it changed since 2023? Did he change? Did he gain, or did he? Do you think he gained some supporters or he lost some?
Look, never take it away. This current president is a smart politician. Is uh, the way look, he figured out that the North were going against him. He managed to sort of rebuild his coalition across the
Political.
political zone. So the coalition is relying upon now is a combination of the North Central, South South, Southeast. If you could get 25% and win some sprinkle of states, and then get some part of the Northeast, and it's done. So he's built his coalition amongst the political class. So he's been able to get almost all the governors in Nigeria, bar three, bar one. Which one is left? Because Anambra is APC. No matter what Soludo tries to tell you,
No, no,
it's already,
he openly says he will
yeah,
support the president. So,
one of the best performing governors in Abia State.
Oti.
Oti is APC technically because his body language is going towards the president. So who is left? Maybe Oyo State. So the president has built a solid coalition amongst the ruling class. So based on that, he's got the election dry. We don't even need to have an election, he's won. But has he been able to build a coalition amongst the Nigerian people? I doubt that. So if the Nigerian people are able to coalesce based on their economic status, the condition of living, the horrible state of the country as it is, the chances of this president is quite slim. So that is the true test of where we are at the moment. So he's been able to redraw the political map now. Then again, he is not a smart move. He attacked democracy. He was involved in all the crises in the opposition party, be it Labour Party, be it ADC, and what have you, particularly PDP. He sort of saw that it might be unpopular by his second term, and he's penetrated these parties. And knowing Tinubu very well, this is not a new game. In Lagos, he was the one who introduced this philosophy of portfolio parties, briefcase parties. So you would have 10 registered political parties. The real opposition would be one. It will be ACN, but ACN also controls the other parties. So if you have all the agents, you, the opposition party, you would think you are going against nine other ACN and nine others, but it's ACN and ACN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has brought that method into the national politics. But I keep saying, in politics, there will be a time the people will rise. And when they rise in one force. Like it's demonstrated in Osun. Look, we're talking about Osun. The people rose and gave Obi almost 7 million votes. I didn't even think Peter Obi was going to get 13,000 votes in that election. But there was a movement behind him. I'm not sure that movement is still as strong as it was in 2023. But the coalition Tinubu has built amongst the ruling elites, if we continue the way elections has been carried out in Nigeria, is probably got it in.
All right. I have this. What would you say is something that should worry Tinubu most? Is it the economy, insecurity, voters' anger, or crack within his own coalition? Which one should worry him most?
Insecurity. more than anything, Rudolph, things are bad. The country has more ungoverned spaces than it had under Jonathan or under Buhari or under Obasanjo. The only thing is that the media are not speaking about it well enough because, again, Smart Tinubu is the new NTA called TVC is doing a good job of spreading the propaganda. And remember, majority of the so-called Southwest media are more or less for the president. So, for example, how come you're not hearing a lot about Fulani massacre, right? But it's not as if those things are not going on. But it's no longer being tagged as Fulani massacre as it was tagged under Buhari. Is bandits, is this and that. He's got a very good propaganda machinery to serve his interest, as it is. So insecurity should worry him more, in terms of if he cares about the Nigerian people because he doesn't have a grip about it. For the first time, look at what happened in Oyo State. We still have children in Borno State that were kidnapped and they've not been found to date. You know, in Southeast Nigeria, from Benin to Ore, people keep saying about kidnappings every day. It's still ongoing. So that should worry him more. In terms of the economy, that should be the second thing because they might be getting the macroeconomics right as being propagated by Western media and Western Brentwood institutions. But in terms of the microeconomies and the impact of the common man and the people, things are really bad. That should worry him more. How do you translate the so-called gains to everyday Nigerian, the man selling recharge card, the farmer, the woman frying akara, as his wife would say. And those are really important things that we should be worried about in terms of the economy. Uh, Within his cabinet, I don't think he's got a lot to fear amongst the people around him because he's chosen the right people who are more or less got into it because they want bread and butter. And for as long as they continue to have bread and butter, they are not going to rock the boat, you know.
Um, Babangida celebrated his 85th birthday recently, last week, I believe, and he said something that during his time, there are people where they are now considered saints compared to what's happening now. So there's this question of corruption that have not been, like you said, the media, they are not focusing on that. And we hear the budget process, how they are running three budgets, how you have trillions of money they made from subsidy removal, whether subsidy, there's a lot going on that is not being talked about. Do you think that corruption under this government, because we wouldn't know this if they win, unless there's a new government that will expose some things. Just like Buhari, nobody knew that Malami was doing these horrible things while he was there. Do you think that corruption is worse now? Is Babangida right about corruption under this administration?
First, I would say we are all old enough because we were under the military. I fought the military. I went to jail. I went to prison. I was in prison for fighting the military and campaigning for democracy, myself and a lot of others. I have marks in my back, pain from detention and torture from the military. But when you look at what we have today, boy, weren't those days good? The level of stealing under series of civilian administration is horrible. Not saying the military was the right system of government, but the effrontery, the directness. I mean, the other day I was told that to go for House of Reps, you need a budget of 25 billion naira to campaign for election, to be a lawmaker. So you wouldn't invest 25 billion naira to go and serve the people if you're not going to get 70 billion in return. And the level of corruption under the civilian government. So let us not just restrict it to Tinubu. under Buhari, under Jonathan, under Obasanjo, the brazenness, it's unbelievable. But more under this government, in the sense that this government has a scientific way of stealing. Three budgets running concurrently, sort of fake agencies suddenly emerging, which are technically conduits for stealing. So if this information hadn't been out, we now hear of this issue of double receipt that they claim Alpha Beta used in Lagos being used at the federal government, where you had one receipt official, the same serial number. So you're taking two taxes. So this is unofficial, it's not going into the books. So it's not corruption because it's dark, but you deliver this into the national budget. So, like you said, until this government gets out, we wouldn't know how bad things are. But the fact is, the system of justice is so slow in our country that even if we find out what is going to happen afterwards, so things are really bad now, and I would hope that maybe a change in government will be right for the country, uh, so that we will know what has gone wrong. But the fact, Rudolph, let's be clear, who are the alternatives that we have in place now?
Yeah, let's talk about your position. You mentioned already that their job really will have been to come together and form one front against this government. That could still happen. It may not happen. But do you understand why they can't come together? Why is it that this is what people are saying, that P2B and Atiku, they have only one chance of being president? And this is it. That if they don't get it this time, they won't have a second chance, based on basic patterns in Nigeria, which is that if Tinubu should win again, that will be the end of the turn for the South. So that means that P2B is out. And if Tinubu wins, that the young people in the northern part of the country, young politicians, are not going to allow Atiku at maybe 80-something to be the candidate for the North. So do you understand why they can't come together and say, let one person go, and rather let us all lose? Is that a thinking?
See, there will be a time in the life of every human being where you put your country over and above your personal ambition. And I have said it over and over again. Look, I'm not a big fan of Peter Obi. I've said that many times. But when you put Peter Obi side by side Tinubu in terms of his level of compassion, this is the time that Nigeria needs somebody that is compassionate to the people. And you could see when if Tinubu is telling you I feel you, and Peter Obi is telling you I feel you, as a common man, I can relate to Peter Obi feeling my pain more than Tinubu is. I think Atiku, sometimes I think Atiku is working for Tinubu. I just conclude because they were business partners, they have a long history. By this time, he should be stepping down for a Peter Obi. Let's even try it and let it fail. Let's look. Let's try it, and it's better to try it and see, and then it will be that this is what the Nigerian people want. You know. But again, you cannot also take away his democratic right to want to keep trying and wanting to become president. But I think if there's any other time he needs to put Nigeria before himself, it is now. And I think it makes sense for the South to have a Southern candidate run against Tinubu. It makes sense to have a Southerner run against Tinubu, so that, because I believe in the principle of what's it called, rotational presidency, and it is on that basis that I think it should be a Peter Obi versus a Tinubu. Mind you, I really wanted a Peter Obi versus an Oshibajo in the last election. That would have been an amazing turnaround for Nigeria, where we just have two seemingly smart, intelligent people who seems to be relate with the modern world, who seems to relate with the ordinary people, than the situation where we have a 90-year-old versus an 80-something-year-old, close to I am 58 and I'm already feeling pain. I'm already feeling I'm about to retire. Like you asked me, and we don't see you often, spending more time with my family, focus on the work I do with my community, you know, and I'm not even a chairman of a local government. And you have people who have turned the villa into a retirement home, starting from President Buhari to where we are now.
Mm. Now, when we talk about opposition, there is also your friend and my friend, Omoyele Leshore. Let me show you this.
With Action Alliance. Action Democratic Party embrace Action People's Party.
No, I don't want to hug you. I don't want to hug APC. Now bribery. Now big hug. Now big hug. Thank you.
All right, you are friend. We're friend. I hope I don't know whether you are currently his friend, but you knew him. You helped at Sahara Reporters. Most people may not know that. And when you see him play the role he's playing in the political arena today, what do you make of his role? I know you've said in the past you are not a fan of revolution now. But what is he doing? What is he contributing to the Nigerian political scene?
You know how uncomfortable it is to speak about about your friend on the political, but he's a presidential candidate, so he should be accountable. So on that basis, if Shewore is watching, I'm going to be very, in our tradition, be very frank. So I think every country needs a Shewore, and I think Nigeria is lucky to have a Shewore, whom I would describe as the conscience of the country, of the nation. I do not agree with a lot of his methods. That is not to say that I do not respect his consistency. Uh, I think the fact that he's been able to sustain a political party through 3 electoral cycles mean it should be taken seriously. You know, uh, there is the need. You see, I've slowed down because I'm now speaking about show because I have to choose my words carefully. You know, so in terms of a spoiler, Showore, Nigeria needs a spoiler, and that's how I classify Showore.
Wait. How is he spoiling anything? What is he spoiling? He
No,
doesn't get you. It's not like his votes are stopping somebody from winning.
no. When I say spoiler, maybe that's the wrong choice of word. In terms of someone to interrupt the system and interrogate the system, that's what I mean by spoiler.
Okay.
Nigeria is in need of that. Is interrogating the system. Is querying the system. Is challenging the system. We need such consistency, And I think don't underestimate the number of people that see that, not young people that see that, and they can say, yes, we can do it. This guy at 50 is doing it consistently and is continuing to is a dogged fighter. That is his role for the country, and one should not take that away from him. In terms of being a serious presidential candidate, I do not think he is. I know he would be disappointed my saying this. I don't think he's been able to establish that he's a good organizer in terms of establishing a party that translates outside of his person. A party where people, when you talk about what's it, AAC, you just think of Showore. You're not thinking of who is the spokesperson, who is the chairman, who is so that area. But I also think that platform is a platform for him to interrogate the system. So we continue need a Showore in our political system. Is challenging, is inspiring, is giving hope to ordinary young Nigerians to say that it's possible. But does it translate into any electoral victory? I doubt if AAC as a chairman in all the electoral circle, I doubt if they won a local government. So sometimes, is it is it Obama or someone who said madness is when you continue to do the same thing and is producing the same results, you know? So I would think we need Shore, and I'm proud of what he's doing in the country. But if I'm considering serious presidential candidates, I do not think at this time he's got the structures in place. And I'm not talking about the corrupt structure. I'm talking that even being able, I would expect that Showore will be the central point for the left in Nigeria, political party around him. And then he will subject himself to organizational discipline where there will be a movement behind him. We will say this is what you don't do, this is what you do, in terms of even the conduct for people to take you seriously. These are things that should be said, that there is a place and time for some things to be said and not to be said. But like I said, disruptor, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Disruptors across every country need a disruptors, and Showore is an effective disruptor in Nigeria at the moment.
Mhm. I'm hearing from my people that I'm staying too long talking to
Yeah,
you. We are going to get them involved. But one last question about
yeah.
online media. You were part of this at the beginning. It's been years. Sahara has just marked, I think, 20 years or more. Now, what has changed? Where are we with the media? Is the media still what it was when you started?
So Shora and I were with Elendu. I don't know if people still remember Elendu reporters.
Mhm.
We people did not know I was the one who got all the information about James Ibori in the UK. I was the one who went, took photographs, sneaked into his mansion in London, took photograph, got land registry, worked together with Shore, gave it to Elendu. That was how his downfall started. And Shore and I got together. I remember visiting New York, and then he was like, I think we should get out with of Elendo, and that was how Sahara Reporters started. But I will leave that story because it's no longer necessary. uh, Sahara Reporters then was not just Showore, it was a team, a strong team of Showore, who was, of course, the idealist, in terms of the vision. But you had Pius Adesomi, you have, don't mention the name, Okendibe, you had yourself, you might want to shy away from it. You had Rosso Babatun. You just had Nigerians across the globe working behind the scene and providing information to our main point man in New York, who was Showore. And that was how Sahara Reporters became very strong. Citizens reporting, we had such an impact. But over time, immediately it just became almost modeled in the direction of a corporate platform. I guess over time it got whittled down. And unfortunately, people also perceived that Sahara Reporters was a platform that threw out Goodluck Jonathan. But that was just an accident of history. Showore is not the kind of person that can be influenced by money, that money will make him support this person or that person. So I'm proud that after some of us sort of got done with Sahara and got on with our lives, do what we want to do, that the platform is now almost 20 years now and is still standing. But in terms of its impact, I don't think it has the same impact as it was back then, when it was just a platform where Nigerian citizens across the globe, were able to report themselves. In terms of the media, why are we surprised? Rudolph, who owns News Central?
I don't actually know. I think I've heard the name before, but I don't
James,
remember.
James Sibori owns News Central.
Oh,
Who owns TVC News?
Tinubu.
Tinubu owns TVC News. Who owns AIT? It was a former PDP operative. Who owns? So if you put 10,
Who owns Channel? The
who
real
owns
owner,
channel is Momo, John Momo, and I put that
quote unquote.
quote unquote. So if you look at the 10 leading news platforms in Nigeria, they are owned. Nduka Ogbaegbena, I've said it over. He owns This Day and Arise TV. Unduka over time had been a conduit for every government. So if you look at most of these platforms, they are owned by the same people, who are Nigerian people are claiming are subjecting and suppressing them. So informations are sort of, you know, released in such a way that it will not displace the ruling elite in the country. So press freedom, means press is in the pocket of the same ruling elite that are ruling or ruining Nigeria. So we're not surprised that Nigerians, do not have a platform. But guess what? We have more people in podcasts. The internet has sort of liberalized information now. We have bloggers. We have people now using different platforms to voice themselves out. And anybody with a mobile phone is a news reporter. People now can send WhatsApp messages. So that monopoly is going to be broken over time.
It's broken already, not going to even.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you worry that because there are no gatekeepers anymore, there are essentially no standard, and we've had different governments, not just in Nigeria, come out to now say that we have to restrain online media, so to say, or you have people being arrested every day for what they post on Facebook. And some of them will come out and say, oh, I did this. There was one case in Anambra State where somebody was making up stories about the governor and came out and said, oh, I did this because I want people to click. It impacts the real people who are doing the job of the media, because there's a job there. There's a way you have to do it. There's something that you have to do about verifying facts and stories before you publish. Most people don't do that because they think it's open to anybody to come in. And so are you worried about that? Are you concerned?
So yeah, I am seriously worried about the misuse of social media and how people can just cook up stories. Now with AI, people create all sorts of things, and that is it. I really worry about it. And I believe there should be a level of restrictions, particularly with young people. Look, the lives of young girls are being destroyed, across Nigeria because people just have access. But I don't think it should be to the level whereby their voices are suppressed. I think if people have cases, they should go through the process. People can file for libel. People can sort of report to the different platforms. And I think across the globe, even in the UK, there are regulations against misuse of social media platform. But that should not be an excuse to take this power away from the people, to be able to report news. Yes, I do agree that there's been quite a number of misuse of these platforms.
All right. Thank you so much, Kayode. I still reserve the right to ask you more questions, but I want to get our people involved. They are very. I'm looking at KJ. He's not smiling. I think part of the reason is that I've been here too long talking. So,
he's smiling now.
Let's take a quick break and then we'll be back. right, thank you everybody for joining us today. We are having a wonderful conversation with Kayode Ogundamisi, who is a political analyst and has been following Nigeria for a long time. He was a student union leader at Unijos, for those who may not know. I saw a comment before we start taking questions from everybody. I saw a comment from Pansat saying that Kayode is my friend. Eventually, and it made me think, yeah, because in journalism, you have to probably disclose that this person you are talking to is a friend or somebody you know. I don't think Kayode, I've never met you. I don't think we met.
No, we've not
No.
even met
Yeah.
physically.
So sometimes when people say that, if you're in journalism for 40 years, the way I have been, almost 40 years now,
Yeah.
you know a lot of people, you've met or even communicated with a lot of people, then that means you won't talk to anybody because they're all your friends. If you're a reporter, you go and cover events and interview people, and you've known them for that, But anyway, I just wanted to put it out there. We can avoid talking to people we know, and most of you guys, when you become politicians, I will interview you, like KJ, Mr. James, and you are my friend. That's just like Kayode is my friend. All right, let's go to the questions. I'll give you 2 minutes comment or question. Make it just one. Pick your best question. If we have chance, we can go second round. Let me start with you, KJ.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rudolph, for always bringing to us quality people. Mr. Kayode, it's good to see you. I've
Thank
listened
you.
and I can listen to you the whole day without having, being bored. And
Thanks.
that's one of the, the qualities of a good storyteller, which you are prone to be. When you talk, it's like you're telling us a folk tale, and so we all can follow with, you give us good understanding of the story, so we complete the rest by imagination. And I totally agree with a lot of things you've said. I don't have a lot to say, having also been in the profession for a while. So I follow exactly what you're painting. I understand exactly what you're saying. The question I want to ask you, as a person who has been on the field for long, why is it difficult for the Nigerian populace, like they do in America? The president enacts or does an executive bill that people don't agree with. The people come together and go to court. Sometimes these courts are not even the people; they are the lawyers themselves who don't agree that that is constitutional. They go to court to seek an injunction for that bill to be either cancelled or withdrawn or even suspended because it didn't meet the criteria that the Constitution of America has set. Why is it difficult for Nigerian, especially now so-called Bar Association of Nigeria and the so-called Senior Advocates of Nigeria? They see something that's against the Constitution, totally against. I give you an example. In question is the now infamous amendment to the Constitution, where it says once you're a politician and you're able to, by hook or crook, go through the primaries and get to the appeal time, part of it, election appeal tribunal, and you are not dictated there. Once you go through that, your forging or whatever you have been able to do is okay. So why is it okay? And the bar is sitting, and the Nigerian people are also sitting. Nobody goes to challenge it. Why does it happen that way? Is it that we have become? I mean, I leave you because you are there, so you probably know reason why they don't do that. Why, sir?
Yeah. Thank you. I I was speaking to someone during an event at the British Parliament I attended, and that person who is a UK MP asked me almost a similar question, and I would repeat my answer, which is that Nigerian politicians probably discovered gold, that other politicians across the globe did not, which is uh, they discovered that once you have state capture, everything goes. And what do I mean by state captures? You need institutions to challenge those policies, right? So let's give the judiciary, for example. So if I am don't let me overflow Tinubu, if I had been governor of a state and I started investing on a judge, a lawyer who becomes a judge across, and I invested, and then to the point where they become, they get to the Supreme Court, that is an investment. So even if you, so I've captured the state, but a section of the state. So even if as a citizen you go to challenge that, you're going to get the kind of results that I'd wanted, So the Nigerian ruling class over time invested on institutions. So they were able, there's state capture, and over time it's not like citizens have not been challenging, but when citizens keep challenging and they keep getting contrary results, they just give up. And that is why these days it's easy, people just tell you go to court. The reason why they tell you go to court is because they know that the outcome is predetermined. You're not going to get any form of justice. I'm not saying in every cases, but in most cases, So I hope that answers your question, that we have state capture in the country, whether the judiciary, the legislative arm. For example, our National Assembly is an extension of the presidency. You elected your lawmakers to go and challenge and hold the executive to account. But what are they doing? They are all singing on his mandate, they stand. So it means the man who is president over time invested on capturing the National Assembly, and if you have that in place, it's going to be difficult for the citizens. Look at the NBA election. Gone are the days where a president is not interested in who becomes the chairman of NBA. Now, a president is even interested in who becomes the chairman of Oanes Ndigbo. Because those institutions are important to consolidate yourself in power. That would be my short answer.
All right. Thank you, KJ. Let's go to Mr. James.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kayode, for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Please, Mr. Rudolph, kindly spare me 3 minutes instead of 2. 160 seconds, please. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I want, first of all, I comment on your opinion of what's it called, coalition or opposition coming together. So I think it was on this platform yesterday, I said, the people of Benin City have a saying, the Benin man was our gay father. That is, the white man and the Reverend Father are the same, even if the Reverend Father is a black man. The reason is because the attire, the clothes, the black Reverend Father wears is that of the white man. The Reverend Father does not celebrate Igwe festival, which is the true identity of any Benin man, Igwe festival. The foods he eats, if he's eating Benin traditional foods, like a kusu, a mieki, and whatever it is, he eats with cutleries, whereas the true Benin man eats with his fingers. And also, when he's dreaming at night, he dreams in Latin language, not in Edo language. So the black Reverend Father and the normal Reverend Father, they are one and the same. The opposition members in Nigeria and the ruling class are one and the same. There's no difference. So that's a fundamental fact. Now, we should concentrate on punishment. Those who offended the state in one way or the other should be seen to be severely punished. Nobody's talking about punishment. I want to cite 2 examples. In the Republic of Liberia, when the American Liberians got there in 1822 or thereabout, they messed up the country beyond recognition. It took the indigenes 158 years, in 1980, to call them to order. 14 top-ranking officers were put before firing squads in Monrovia. The president was killed and quite a lot of other people also died. In Ghana, General Afrifa was called to order 10 years after he relinquished power. He was put before a firing squad. The kind of atrocities these people are committing against the state in Nigeria should be unpardonable. But unfortunately, nobody's talking about punishment. We are talking about coalition, how to replace them. So what about the atrocities they committed against the state? I'm particularly angry for one reason. When I was in the primary school, secondary school, the 6th form, bachelor's degree, master's degree in Nigeria, I never paid any school fees. It was absolutely free, courtesy of Obafemi Awolowo, and never paid anything. But our children these days, in fact, when I was schooling in Benin City, there was no private secondary school in the whole of Benin City. There was only one school somewhere in the GROA they call Ebenezer Nursery School for top class people. Apart from that nursery school, all other schools were public schools. I attended a public school. But today, my children cannot attend public schools. So what went wrong? Nobody is talking about how to discipline these people. But however, my question is this: don't you think Nigeria is beyond redemption?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, Rudolph, that's a big question.
That's why I like them. They ask questions I cannot, that I'm not smart enough to. Right.
So is Nigeria beyond redemption? So there are answers I give when I'm in public, and there are answers I just spin out when nobody's asking me in private. You know, I might just be driving and I read something, and my answer will be I can't repeat it. But when I look at the long years of suffering, the number of people that have died to get us this semblance of democracy or pretentious democracy. I lost friends, you know, I lost friends during the pro-democracy struggle who died, you know, in the Yanopaja, shot by the police, killed. Uh, uh, my own pain is the most minimal of pain. I only have a cut by the military, blades used on my back, you know, at the detention center. So mine is minimal, but there are lots of people. Bagauda Kalto, he was blown up in a bomb blast in Kano, either Kano or Kaduna, I can't remember, in an hotel. Was it Kano? Uh, yeah, in Kano.
Kaduna was Kaduna.
Sorry, in Kaduna,
Yeah.
Agora Hotel or something. And these are people I know personally who died for this democracy. For their sake, it's difficult to say Nigeria is beyond redemption. You know, we just have to keep trying. We just have to keep hoping, because without hope, I mean, um, the option will be chaos, you know, if we lose hope. And you mentioned Liberia, you mentioned those countries. Look, one of the jobs I did when I left Nigeria was work for a German NGO called IMRV. And my duty was to go into conflict areas. I went to Chechnya, I went to conflict areas, work with rebel groups to tell them the importance of respecting uh, 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 civil ways of treating prisoners of war. Anybody who has been into conflict areas and see the impact on conflict on the ordinary people, even Liberia, even Sierra Leone, you know, would say that we should continue to hope for the country. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, if there's a conflict, our war is brutal. We are not used to using AK-47. You know, it gets to the point that where people started chopping each other's arm. So on that case, I want to believe there is still redemption. How that redemption is going to pan out will be for the people to decide. Could it be that maybe our nation as it is not sustainable? Could it be that maybe we're not really a nation? Maybe traditionally we're just a confederation of nations, and we need to let people self-determine, let the sense of self-determination. Maybe have a weak government, federal government, and let the confederating units, you know, rule themselves. Do we need to review the kind of system, expensive presidential system that we put in place? So those conversations are things that could be had. Now, Mr. James, I want to make it clear. For Nigeria to survive, only the ruling elite can decide that Nigeria should survive, because they have the means. They have to at some point agree that we don't chop belly full. This is enough. And if we continue this way, the ceiling is going to collapse on everyone. Because the number of non-state actors with arms and ammunition today is more than the number of non-state actors we had under the military. Under the military, we didn't have Boko Haram, we didn't have IPOB, OPC, and what have you. But now, I said to someone that for anyone to carry out a successful coup in Nigeria, anybody in the military trying to plan a coup just want trouble for his head, because the number of citizens who have their own private armies is more than the number of the military we have in place. Asari Dokubo commands almost 3 battalions by himself. Boko Haram controls territories. In the south is IPOB, even though they've been a bit quiet, they control massive followers with arms and ammunition, you know. So when it gets to the point where the ruling elite recognizes that there will be a point where this, you know, when you have the, is it cooker, the pressure cooker, that if you don't open the lid, it's going to explode. It's down to them. But in terms of our people, anything that comes from our people, I am against bloodshed, no matter how bad the situation is, because at the end of the day, my children do not live in Nigeria. They have no intentions of living in Nigeria. But I've got children of other people who will be victims in our efforts to want change in a way that conflict will leave them in a worse situation. And I'll give you a final example. If there's a war in Nigeria now, and America brings brings a rescue, or the United Nations bring a rescue chip to Tinubu's what's that place called where he created for his friend Shaguru?
Eco Atlantic.
Eco Atlantic. You know, that's the safest way where they can bet their chip. That's where they're building their new embassy. The Nigerian government, Tinubu, will rescue Peter Obi's family, Atiku's family, and all his ruling elite flat. They will get into that chip first before the ordinary person. So that is why, as much as we want a radical transformation, I think we should also balance things up. So publicly, I am hopeful, but I will be lying to you if I don't tell you, if I don't confess to you there are times where I've said to self, there's no hope for the country. Then I snap out of that, there's no hope for the country, when I look at the implication. I'm sorry if I didn't give you the clear answer.
It's adequate, but I just want to make it clear. I'm not saying they should be executed. I cited those as examples. There are other ways of disciplining them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, because if you execute them, the problems that will follow the execution, the country cannot withstand it.
At all. And I agree with you. Look, and I'll give you another example. We have been executing people extrajudicially in the country. Rudolph, do you know the number of people who steal mobile phone and people set fire on them and they buy them, because we're on the internet now? The number of people that just all they did was maybe they were mistaken to be armed robbers and people just burned them alive. Has it stopped armed robbery in the country? No, it hasn't. So we need to just keep open.
All right. Thank you, Mr. James. Let me tell people who are watching on the comment section that we can take a few questions from that end too. I'm being accused of not looking at what they are posting or questions they are posting. So we take questions from there. Stay humble. You're next.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Dr. Damages. Good evening, Mr. Kayode.
Good evening, sir.
Ogundamisi. If I got the pronunciation right.
No, it's correct, yes.
You're welcome, to this house. And I really appreciate you for having the courage to show up. We've in the past invited people to come and they ducked because they were not ready to answer the hard questions. My question is to you, and at the end of the day, I have a question for Dr. Damages. So in 2014, you expressed support for Mr. Buhari, and you granted a lot of interviews. In fact, in one of the interviews, you were described as a UK-based journalist, etc. You said the reason why you supported Mr. Buhari was because he was marginally better than Mr. Jonathan. And eventually, Buhari was declared winner. And a few months after that, you criticized Buhari, very, very, very profoundly. And, you went on to criticize him in the first 2 years or so of his term in office. And in January 2019, there was a Facebook post congratulating you, a Twitter post, for being named in the Buhari campaign committee, in the media subcommittee. of the Buhari campaign organization. So my question to you now, because you've criticized Mr. Tinubu and you've reeled out a lot of his failures. Are you posturing for another appointment, maybe to his campaign committee or as a minister or a member of his cabinet? One of the reasons why I'm asking you this question is that the problem that I have with your with your discipline, the media and the journalism world and your generation, is that the way you talk about the problems of Nigeria, the demeanor that you used to talk about the problems of Nigeria undermines the gravitas of the issue. When you're talking about these problems, you're trying to mystify this character called Mr. Tinubu, and you talk about you indirectly describe him in superlative terms, and you're telling us how he's indomitable, how he cannot be defeated, not directly, from your demeanor, the way you were smiling. Look, Nigeria is in danger. Look, if this guy comes back in 2027, you probably stay in the UK, stay there as well. If this guy comes back in 2027, Nigeria is in great danger. And we should talk about it as if it is a lugubrious issue. It is sad. It is serious. So we should not look. You mentioned how he aims to get his votes, but you and I know that would, they're going to get those figures, not votes, via manipulation. And if a young person is listening to us talking about this, the way we talk about it, they will run away with the impression that these guys are actually getting real votes. We're not talking about it as if these guys are going to criminally steal the future of Nigeria. So my point is that we should be actually serious about the issues at hand. The last question that I have for Dr. Kayode is, it's not a question per se. Last Sunday, somebody came up here and the person called me all sorts of names. Called me a fool, called me stupid, just for expressing my opinion. And you were smiling. You did not rebuke him. You did not correct him. He called me all sorts of names, stupid, idiot, and all sorts of things. If it happens again, nobody will be happy with the outcome of it.
All right, thank you. Stay humble. Let's continue with the conversation we're having with Kayode. Anything outside that, we can discuss it on the after show, okay? Kayode, go ahead and take his questions.
Yeah, so thank you. I don't know why people always also in the first place, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me. So in the first place, I have never sought appointment under any government, be it Buhari, be it Tinubu. As a matter of fact, what people would not realize was that the first time I would probably had an appointment was under Jonathan. Rudolph might know this. Oronto Douglas was my very close friend. We had an history in the self-determination group. When it comes to Kayama Declaration, it was myself and probably Wale and other were the only two non-Ijaw people that facilitated that movement. So if it was about appointment, right, under Jonathan, one would have gotten into government. So this thing is not about appointment. That is not to say there's anything bad in offering one's service to one's country, but some people just have personal reasons why they would not be able to relocate to Nigeria and take appointments. In terms of Buhari, you mentioned it. I was quite critical of Buhari as the president, even though it was my choice for a candidate as a president, both in the first and the second election. But that did not stop me from saying things as it is while he was in government. In terms of President Tinubu, actually, amongst all the three presidents, it's probably the one I've got the closest relationship with. I was a very serious strategic person in his re-election campaign. I was in charge of security, that election in which he defeated the PDP and Obasanjo. But there's a principle behind me. That is what I recognize as the major thing that is affecting Nigeria, which is corruption. I was disappointed that Buhari did not fight corruption. I said it when he was president and after he became president. I am more disappointed under this government because I hear of a lot of things going on. And my relationship with Mr. Tinubu broke down in Lagos because Lagos became Lagos. I can hear feedback. Yeah. Lagos sort of became a personal fiefdom. And my fear was that the way Lagos became a personal fiefdom, that was the way Nigeria was going to be. And that is my position on that. Now, my role on this platform is not to do the job of the opposition. I'm an analyst, I studied political science, studied international relations, conflict resolution. If you want me to romanticize you and go like, Tinubu is bad, he's going to lose the election. If that's going to make you happy, I'm not here to make anyone happy. I'm here to give my perception and go by what I see in terms of the indices in the country. And what are the indices? I was quite clear that the ruling elites are united with Tinubu. And if the election is based on the ruling elite, it's going to win the election. But I did say with a caveat, if the Nigerian people are united, if they are united to resist the kind of oppression and the state of malady we're in, that the election is for Mr. Tinubu to lose. Take it or leave it. It doesn't mean I endorse him, his candidacy, So, but my job is not to make people happy, in terms of the reality. I'll put a mirror in front of you that this is where we are today with our country, and it's down to our people, to decide. The opposition failed to unite, it would have the election is gone. But I also did say that there are certain geopolitical regions that if they follow the Osun direct election pattern, then it's going to be a big question mark on Mr. Tinubu winning the election.
All right, thank you. Stay humble. Let's go to a question in the comment section before I come back to the panel. This question is from Pansat. Says it's question number 1. He has about 10 of them. How would you describe an individual who supported Muhammadu Buhari, a jackbooted thug, coup plotter, but finds it hard to support P2B? Give us the rationale.
Is that for me, Rudolph?
Yeah, that's
some questions are not worth dignifying, because we're in a democracy. People are free to support who they ever choose to support. You can't force me to support your candidate if I do not believe in their candidacy. The same way the Tinubu people attack me now for not supporting Tinubu. So it's one of the things we fought for people to have a choice to decide who they want as the leader of their country. Sometimes you support someone, they get into government, they disappoint you. The true test of man is for your ability to that. Despite supporting them, you point out that, look, I did support you, but this is not right for our country. So you can't tie a rope on my neck to support Mr. Peter Obi. We're in a free country. And I did say in terms of reality, I would want, for the sake of our country, that Atiku steps down for Peter Obi, not necessarily because I believe in Peter Obi, but when you put everyone on the scale now, I think in terms of the state of our country, we need a compassion. I just look at it from the compassionate side. Look, at this point, we need someone to be compassionate about the people, But I'm not going to, it's clear people have a right to choose whom they want to choose in an election.
Okay. Just before we go to the next panelist, there's another question that is connected to this one. I want you to take on. This is from Brickhouse Capital. I think he was talking about. Let's see how he framed it. All these journalists have lost their credibility. I think he's meant to write lost. Why are they not abusing Tinubu the same way they abused Jonathan? Jonathan was bullied out of office by so-called journalists like Q. So that's a very common question. What is your take on that?
Rudolph, Showore is doing a good job of abusing Tinubu. He's still accused of being a Tinubu stooge. I mean, there's a difference between abusing someone. Sometimes Nigeria rain courses. You're not going to die well. You're not going to do this one. You will die tomorrow. Da, 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 da. When has causes and abuse solve the problem in Nigeria? So what changes Nigeria is the ability to convince the other person that your position is superior, that my candidate has a superior position, the ability to say, okay, you know what, I see your point, but try this. This is why. But to think you can bully people to use your methodology, to call for a change, it doesn't work. Your ideology might be right. Mine might be right, but we see it from different perspective. So it's an emotional question, and I understand where it's coming from, but like I gave one very good example. Shore abuses Tinubu almost every single day, abuses everybody at any chance platform he's got, but he's still being accused of not doing enough.
All right, thank you. So let's go to Osawakan. You're next.
You got my name quite all right today, and I'm so pleased about that.
You should donate to the platform.
I will definitely do that. Good afternoon to everybody. Mr. Ogundamisi, I greet you.
Good afternoon, sir.
I see that you are quintessentially informed about the situation in Nigeria. However, I have a reservation for your pedagogy. And my question today, and some things I will say about that, is I'll call it an amalgam of what has been going on the platform and what you said. Um, my concern was when you said that, well, which is quite true, but quite complicated at the same time. It's quite fluid. You said that an average Nigerian who is an Agbo, or whatever the case may be, I'm not really concerned about whether Tinubu is a criminal in the US or not, which kind of makes sense, right? Because they are looking for their daily bread. But when we examine, Mr. Ogundamisi, the aftermath of the Osun governorship election, and we look ahead to the next election, I think we must look beyond standard party mechanics. And because, in my opinion, what we are witnessing today is the consolidation of what I call a neo-patrimonial hegemony. I think what we are witnessing today in Nigeria, is what the presidency, like you rightly described, operate like a kind of a constitutional monarch, what I call the cartel structure, where the absolute homage is demanded, and every emerging power block is systematically neutralized. And what we have seen in Nigeria, within the ruling party particularly, is that it appears that the Aso Rock is operating in the phrase that I call the Roma locuta est cosa finita est. Roma spoken, the case is finished. Roma locuta cosa finita est. Whenever Tinubu speaks, it's done. If he doesn't speak, it's still open. But what is most troubling to me, and I think for other reasonable people, is not merely the domestic feudalism that we have in Nigeria, it's also the essential state of vulnerability that we are in as a people. Because I believe that Nigeria is one of the most important black nations in the world. We are the largest, the most resourceful, material-wise and human-wise. So Nigeria becomes that knocking point in the black continent. And we have an individual who is a convict, part for future, as the president leading that country. That should be concerning because the ripple effect is that it affects everybody. Now, on one side, when an individual goes into drug dealing and he knows the effects of drug on a human person and he still goes into it, that person is a luciferious, devilish human being, a Calvinistic being. And that person has done that business to a lot and is amounting almost $500,000. That is concerning. Number two, that same person became the president of a nation. That is more troubling. So my question to you, Mr.
mm,
Ogundamisi, we can go on and on with all these things,
mm.
is that is the political machinery in Nigeria truly insurmountable, or does the Osun popular resistance, like you call it, can still shatter the notion of Roma locuta cosa finita is ahead of the next election? That's my first point before I go to the second one quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's not insurmountable, and there's evidence to that. Peter Obi, I keep making reference to Peter Obi's election. No one thought the Labour Party would get close to 6 to 7 million votes, and that is a demonstration that a people determined can surmount whatever machinery of rigging they put in place. That is, these are clear evidence there that is on the ground, that's been tested. Um, if the people look, it's down to the people. I think it was Castro, either Castro or somebody that said, "Look, I'm not a liberator." The people, Che Guevara said, "I'm not a liberator. The people liberate themselves." The people must be determined, and the people of Osun were determined, and they got the kind of the results they got in this last election. you know how do you translate that to the people in those nook and crannies being determined, to vote for candidates outside of the current candidates that we have now? That is the big question. That is not a job that we can do on the internet. It is people on the world level mobilizing in the grassroots, speaking directly to the people, speaking to their needs. The campaign, the way you structure your campaign in the southeast is different from the way you structure your campaign in the north or the southwest. There might be a general problem that unites everybody, but there are localized issues that you target, and you have to work on that. So it's not insurmountable. And I've given a very clear analysis that there are two ways to it. Either the ruling elite wins or the people decide the time for change is now. And Oshu has shown us it is possible. Peter Obi's lightning numbers in the 2023 election showed us it is also possible.
Thank you. I have a follow up for that.
No,
Mr.
no, no, no,
Ogundamisi
no,
said,
no.
just a minute. I will be done. We are all here together, okay? This is a really pertinent issue in our history as human people of Nigeria. So I believe this is a really concerning situation. My follow up to that, Mr. Ogundamisi, is going to be based on foreign leverage and sovereign vulnerability. Because you and I know that when a nation's executive leadership, like we have in Nigeria, carries unresolved judicial dossier risk abroad, like Tinubu carries. What we know, what we see around, is that external superpowers gain immense covert leverage on that. And how much of Nigeria's current economic, security, and even diplomatic posturing, is actually dictating our national interests?
Yeah,
How much is shaped, and how much is shaped by the presidency operating under an external
yeah.
legal chokehold?
I'm
Because
not sure.
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
not sure. I'm not sure when you joined the conversation, but you've just summarized everything myself and Rudolph, talked about, before now. If I'm wrong, Rudolph, let me know. We were clear on it. That. So not wanting to rehash that same submission again, so that we can make progress. I agree completely with you that the fact that we have this lingering question about the alleged drug activity, means foreign influence is possible. Policies are designed to stop foreign government from exposing issues that might just sort of make the current leadership lose power.
All right, thank you, Kayode. Thank you. Let me just say that there are questions I'm getting on the comment section. Sometimes I might ignore your question, not because they are not important, but maybe because they've been addressed. And this is a good example of something that we addressed in our conversation before now. So I will just skip that one because we need to move on to other aspects of conversations we want to have. Let me go to Lantern Papa. Are you honest? Now, unmute yourself, please. Go ahead. No, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Okay, we will skip you. Come back again. Just log out and come back. That may solve the problem. Chris, you're next. Welcome to the show.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Ogundamisi.
Thank you, sir.
Your activities in AOPC was noted.
Yeah.
And if I'm right, you were part of, I don't know if I'm right, but I might be wrong, that you were part of Odua Nation Movement by Professor Akintoye?
No.
Okay. Now, my question is this. You know, in the past, the Yorubas have ruled Nigeria twice under Obasanjo and now Tinubu. They have been preaching about true federalism. But it seems to me that each time that they are in power, or the people in the Southwest are in power, there is this silence about this restructuring until when they are about to leave office. So it can one say, I want to know your opinion on this. It can one say that it is just a pressure, self-agitation, pressure group self-agitation to gain power.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Chris. And I think this is, I don't know why Al Rudolph missed this question. I think this is a very important question. So let me clarify something. I was the Secretary General of the OPC, faction then. I was never part of the Yoruba movement. That's Akintoye's or Sunday Igboho's movement. And one of the reasons why I just sort of, felt that with the OPC things went south was because we discovered, that people were not really actually committed to the ideals of the organization, which is self-determination, the right for every region, irrespective of whatever region, to determine how they want to rule or govern themselves within, if possible, the concept of a confederation in Nigeria. And that's why when I see the Tinubu people abuse me now and call me an OPC person, I said, Tinubu actually was a member of the OPC. He supported the OPC. He called himself the OPC governor. Remember, that was when myself, Fashewu, and others were declared wanted. And he said, not under his watch. And at that point, we thought, okay, this man actually believed in our ideals of true federalism, of the different ethnic nationality being able to predetermine how they want to operate within Nigeria. It doesn't mean one should hate the other ethnic nationality, but by the time some of us discovered these were just platforms for people to consolidate themselves, to capture political power, we sort of broke out and said, no, I can't waste. I'm experienced enough to not to be used. We have a Yoruba proverb that says, which means the one whose head is used to break the coconut will not partake in eating of the coconut. So we saw that coming, and we just like, you know what, I'm not going to waste my time. As a matter of fact, to tell you how strong we were, Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti was my treasurer. I was the secretary general, which means I hold the secretariat. We had several conflicts with Dr. Fashewu in terms of, look, we can't be obnobbing with these politicians. They are not buying into the same ideology. So I'm not surprised that when Mr. Tinubu got into government, he he has done worse than Obasanjo did, in terms of using federal power to consolidate the power of the presidency against the constituent units that make up Nigeria. Every governor is now singing, "On your mandate, we stand." So it's not a surprise. So you are right. I completely agree with you that those of us in the Southwest, the political elite, have used self-determination just to get themselves into office, and everything, most of the time, they have not gone to that principle. You could say that maybe things like police reform and everything, but those are just piecemeal. The fundamental question is our national question. Now, can I guarantee that when people, my brothers from the Southeast Nigeria with IPOB and co, get into government, they will not also go the way of the Yoruba people and consolidate power? I can't say, but everybody, every ethnic nationality, unfortunately, will say we are oppressed until when they get into the. Let me give you an example. The Jaws, when Jonathan became president, they acted the same way the Fulanis would, quote and unquote, hegemony acted when they were in the villa. And the same thing under the Yoruba presidency. This government has served the interest of not just the Yorubas, but loyal Lagos people to Tinubu as the president. So I cannot disagree with your submission that most times when campaigns were made, they had just been a conduit to get into the villa, and once you get there, it's a different story. That is all I can say on that.
All right, thank you, Chris. So Kayode, they are saying that you threw me under the bus by saying that how could I forget that question? I want to show you that I have 49 questions that were sent to me by my people to ask you, and I couldn't get to that. That would have been that we'll be here.
No, I thought it was important because look, we're all Nigerians, but let us be very frank with ourselves. Our country, the foundation of our country was quite wobbly. We are one people, but from different backgrounds. We seem to sort of want to force this unity without addressing the core issue of the mutual suspicion amongst ourselves. If we don't resolve that, we're still going to be going around in circle. Until we make the villa less attractive and make the local government and the regional government or whatever more important, we're still going to be standing on the same ground.
All right. Before we go to Morris, let me also say that there are a lot of questions on the comment. I can go back and I can be doing this and be doing back and forth. So it will help if you support your question with highlight it so we can highlight it. But let me ask you one before we go to Morris. This one, you can also send it to my WhatsApp number if you know my number. But don't call me because I won't answer. So this one says, did Kayode not know about Tinubu's drug case when he worked for his re-election? That is, the person wants to know whether you knew about his drug case when you worked for his re-election as governor.
Absolutely not. Remember, it was when we were in Sahara Reporters that we exposed that. It was subsequently years after, and it was, and credit to Showore. Showore was the first. I see people just write documentary about this drug case now as if they've discovered gold. It was when we were in Sahara Reporters that Showore did an amazing research, and he was the first person to expose this drug incident, and that was many years after the re-election campaign. There was no way in the world I would ever support someone indicted in a drug case, whether forfeit. The fact that you actually forfeited money in a drug case is enough to disqualify you from running for the presidency of Nigeria. Unfortunately, our standards are so low.
All right, one more before we come back to the panel. The question from HP says, why do people of Southwest support one Nigeria? That is, why are they afraid to live alone in an Oduwa nation?
Because we love Owambe. No, that was just, well, I can't claim to speak for the for Yoruba people. No one can claim to speak for its ethnic nationality, but I would say when we didn't have the presidency, the agitation for Yoruba Republic was quite hot. But now that is in the presidency, that agitation has really. Ironically, I warned that this was going to happen. Sunday Igboho is now a supporter of Tinubu. You know, that is not to say there are no other people who genuinely want us to have a conversation of um of what's the way forward for Nigeria. Let me tell you my own position. With what I know today, dismembering Nigeria is going to be a difficult task to break away. You know, to break Nigeria into different countries, it's almost an impossible task. But what I think would work well is to strengthen the regional bodies. It's just to go back to that area where the southeast are able to govern themselves in a way, and they are able to control their resources. The south, you know, the 6 geopolitical zones. But Rudolph, the irony of it is that if Yorubas have a republic today, that is when you realize that Yorubas are not as homogeneous as you guys think. Those of us in Ondo State feel we are oppressed in Yoruba land, and that it is the people of Ogun State. They've produced presidents twice, they've produced vice president. That is when the real issues within our own tribe will come out. I can't speak for Igbo land, but I'm sure when I served in Enugu State, uh, people of Enugu were called Wawa people, and they were seen as inferior by people from Anambra State. You know, I knew then when I served in Enugu that in the civil service, people in Enugu State civil service who were not from Enugu State, you know, those kind of, that is when you now know that there's this so-called homogeneity of Igbo people, Yoruba people, Ijaw people are not really homogeneous, you know, as it is. But if we can devolve power, it will reduce the agitation for breakup. And let me put this clearly, Rudolph. No one can break up Nigeria except through a war. It's not going to happen unless through you fight a war. And I would never support that to happen. You know, I would never, maybe I'm not a coward. I've been involved in witness conflict, you know, but the process of breaking Nigeria into pieces is almost impossible. To change that constitution, you need 2/3 of the National Assembly and the State House of Assemblies. Power, the numbers are so tilted that the regions who do not want a breakaway have the say, you know, than other regions.
All right. Let me go to Maurice, and then I'll come back to questions from the comments section and other questions that I have. Maurice, go ahead. You're welcome to the show. Maurice, unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Maurice, and I want to thank Rudolph. This is the first time I'm participating in your program. Mr. Kayode, nice hearing from you. I used to be the national president of NAN Senate, 97-98.
Oh.
And I graduated from ECOWAS, so I've been part and parcel of the fight for democracy. And apart from that, I've also contested election. I lost, and I also contested election. I won. The challenge I have is that, honestly speaking, being a former CEO, Chief Executive Officer of a local government, I came to realize that the people themselves do not even want development. You know why? They prefer what you give to them. Instead of talking about collective benefits, they prefer what you give to them. That is what they use in assessing developments. I give you a story that happened somewhere in Edo State where I'm from. I'm from a town called Igobazwa. I built a school because there was one political leader that I really appreciated and respected. And the name of that village is Okokmo. The school was built in 1954 by the great Awolowo. It was a mud school. I brought it down, built the school, made the school a modern school. And I noticed that the people go to stream every day to fetch water. And I installed an industrial borehole. Guess what? When this leader saw me, what he said to me is, Maurice, I'm not happy with you. And I said, sir, why? He said, because I just abandoned him. I said, how, sir? I said, I built a school for your people. Your people go to the stream to fetch water. I've given you industrial borehole. In fact, I also installed a generator that will give and aid the students, to learn, the pupil to learn. You know what he said to me? He said, Morris, is it the school that is going to eat? Is his children the only people that go to school? I shouldn't say that. I can give you arrays of examples of how people themselves encourages political office holder, because they are only interested in what they want. With my almost a decade stay in the Western world, I can tell you clearly that our major challenge in Nigeria is we are morally bankrupt. I'm telling you, we are morally bankrupt. When this program started today, I was right at the beginning. I heard everything you said. But because today's a question and answer thing, right? I will not want to dabble in. There are some areas where you raise certain issues that I disagree with. This is because I believe that there are moral questions to such attitude. Because the truth is, I see no reason why government will be constructing road. The same people from that community will be the ones that will go there to vandalize the iron rod that is used for the construction of the road, because they want to go and sell it as the condemned iron. I see no reason why government will build a modern school, install ceiling fans, put lightning system. The same people in the community, the jobless, I wouldn't use the word jobless, people with bad intention will go there, remove the ceiling fan, remove all the accessories of the school that was built for them and their people. Or you want to talk about employed nurses who were posted into the hard-to-reach area, despite the fact that health centers are built with doctors' quarters and nurses' resting room. They prefer to come from Benin every day to place of work and endanger the people, of the community where they are working. Or you want to talk about a teacher that teaches in the primary school, and when she's going, she goes along with cooler and some bucket. She has already fried buns, chin-chin, and sweet that she sells to her own student that she's teaching. You see, on and on. There are examples you can give about our moral attitude. Or you want to talk about the elective officers who they will be given opportunity to write their names in the sands of time instead of them to govern, rightly, because of moral question and moral character. They do the opposite. Or you want to talk about the young youth who will be picked by his community as a liaison officer to liaise with the contractor constructing road of infrastructure in his community and report to his community, instead of him to ensure that the contractor meets with the standard of what has been put in place in the scheduled plan of the project that they are supposed to carry out. Because the contractor will call the same youth, mobilize him some resources and tell him, look, this road is supposed to be 6 inches thick and maybe 16 inches wide. But you see, because of certain reasons, we will not be able to provide this thing right now. Just have this to yourself. And instead of him as the representative of the people to question the contractor and reach out to the community and tell them, look, this man is trying to play funny thing. But because of what he's going to get, unfortunately, the young person will also connive with the contractor. When you put all these factors together, now I want to ask my question. Don't you think, Mr. Kayode, with all the struggles that you and I remember the struggle at Yaba when we did the anti-Abacha march in Yaba. On our way, some of us were arrested and detained, myself with Dr. Anthony Fashayo, Obesere and co, Eze Nwagu and co. So we have been in the struggle. You understand me? But despite that, Nigerians do not even celebrate merit and excellence. It is Nigeria is the only country where you bring a goat and you bring a human being. They will prefer to go for goat because they've been greased, they've been patronized. Instead of them to celebrate merit, excellence, and capacity, they prefer to go for the person that has given them something. And so for me, I feel that having tested the both areas, I can tell you clearly that our major concern is moral issue. We lack discipline. We lack moral character. We come to abroad, we obey laws. Some few days ago in Canada, they did the diaspora, what have you, where I am. I went there and I shook my head. And I was asking them of what significant importance, what is the economic importance of this program that has been done here? How can it translate to economic development in Nigeria? How can it bring food to the table of the average Nigerians? The question is, it's so sad. So Nigerians themselves, they need to wake up and do the right thing. And for us who are in diaspora, let us stop speaking English. Let's begin to make a call to our people. Tell them they must vote rightly. After all, this last Osun election, the president came out to say that Osun people vote for your choice. Right? So if they give you money, you collect money, and you refuse to vote for the money that was given to you, you vote the right person. I think they are also meeting up with their responsibility. The situation is so sad that
Maurice.
So in conclusion, I would like to ask, Mr. Kayode, don't you think that Nigerians need to develop a strong moral character for us to move forward? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maurice. Before you answer, let me just say, Maurice, thank you so much. I know this is your first time on the platform. On Saturdays, we have your say when we give you enough time to have your say. But on a day like today, what we essentially do is we have a guest, we let the guest talk, and we ask questions. So we really encourage you to join us Saturdays. We will give you more time to be able to expand on your ideas and your experiences, which I see that you have a lot. Kayode, go ahead.
Maurice, first let me thank you for your sacrifice for our country, and you're right. Not a lot of people are recognized for what they did for the for Nigeria, and then it's also interesting to know that you've also gone into government, so to say, and you've experienced it. There's an aspect I agree with you. You know, when they say Nigeria happened to me, what people are not saying is that Nigerians happened to me, because Nigeria is a geographical expression. It's the people that make the country. But having said that, what do you expect if the wife of a president who has never had a job in her life, who is not known to be has never had an inventor, she's not a Mark Zuckerberg or whatever his name is called, can donate 50 billion naira just like that, right? And proudly announce, I am donating 50 billion naira. Or the son of the president is able to just churn out billions. He's never been employed. And you expect the Nigerian, you know, by the roadside to be morally upright. It's almost impossible. And mind you, leaders do not come from heaven. They are from the people. Maybe that's where you're right, that as a people, you know, we need to sort of like I made an analysis that when the rain falls, it falls on every one of us. But we cannot blame Nigerians. And I agree, Nigerians need to do better. But when you see your elected officials stealing in billions and elected officials building mansions, you know, it's difficult to take ownership. Everybody just wants a part of the national cake. You know, maybe as leaders, we need to start setting examples. We need to start making sure that we also do the right thing that reflects. And I'm glad that someone like you did the right thing. But the culture of people wanting immediate gratification is not something you can erase immediately until leaders themselves become sacrificial. Maybe start by actually returning the stolen wealth, you know. And to tell you that Nigerians have the capacity to do good, when we go abroad, we obey the law in most cases. when the institutions are strong. For example, the school you built, you know, you will not be able to provide security because the securities are not there. Security is not there. There are no consequences for bad behavior. So when there are no consequences for bad behavior, institutions have been hijacked or institutions don't exist. It's free for all. A recent data put Nigeria at number 15, lowest to the bottom in terms of potential to become a failed state. So it's a free for all society. I think it's not just Nigerian followers, but the leaders. It's a combination both ways before we are able to get a better society in place. Uh, if for example, in Lagos, I use the example of Lagos because that's where I was born. That's where I live most of the time. Development is centered towards the island. There is the ghettoization of certain aspect of Lagos. You can't ghettoize some certain aspect of Lagos and expect to build decent human beings from those communities. You're going to have those members of communities sabotaging whatever so-called efforts you're trying to put to right the wrongs.
All right. Thank you so much, Maurice. I will take a question from the comments and then from my phone, and we'll take a break. When we come back, we round up with a few more questions. So this one is from Yusuf. It says, a decade ago, before IPOB agitation became violent, Mr. Kayode weight of anger against Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB. What is his position presently, since in your closet, you admit that Nigeria is hopeless?
I didn't admit that Nigeria is hopeless. Let me make that clear. I said that sometimes you wander towards that, but I want to hope for Nigeria. I'm surprised this IPOB question came towards the end of this program. You see, I warned. What people do not understand was I was one of the very few people that gave my platform to Nnamdi Kanu as his group. You can go on YouTube. I had a live TV program in the UK on Ben TV. No one wanted to touch IPOB. But because I had this experience in the self-determination group, I thought, no, what they are agitating for, you can't wrong. They have a right to agitate for what they are agitating. I gave them a platform. In fact, the owner of Ben TV, my chairman, the Alistair Shoyede, when he heard I was bringing IPOB, he threatened he was going to pull the program off the year. I said, no, they have a platform. So I gave them a platform. I beg everyone to go on YouTube. Just Google that program. Nnamdi Kanu's deputy, Ejimafo, if I remember his name clearly, was the one who came on the program. And what he was spewing out, I was like, are you guys, do you know, I thought you had it all put together. You don't come on platforms and telling me you're going to mobilize guns, you're going to harm your people, you're going to make an insurrection and expect my support, because I've been there. I saw the implication. I saw how the OPC almost metamorphosed into a Frankenstein monster. And I predicted that if you're going this way, IPOB is going to metamorphose into a Frankenstein monster. And that was my basis of opposition to Nnamdi Kanu's IPOB, not against the principle of what he was agitating, but the method. If I had been listening to, many people would not have been killed. I was like, no, your method, what you're talking about is right, but the method is going to create Frankenstein monster. Based on our own experience, you need to shut this down. You can't come openly and be saying you're going. Look, I'm not supporter of Boko Haram, but did they ever come and say, plan when we're going to plan and we're going to get rockets and what have you? What they're agitating for is not illegal. I mean, everybody has a right to self-determination. But the methods, and look, the southeastern part of Nigeria became the worst for the agitation. You want to fight the Fulanis, quote and unquote, and you make your region the ground zero of the battle. How does that even make sense? You want to liberate people of southeastern Nigeria, but at the end of the day, it's the people of southeastern Nigeria that they stopped going to school on Mondays. Markets were closed every Monday. You impose sanction on your own people. You know, so it was clear that that agitation was going to lead to self-destruction. But that is not to say that the conversations they were having are illegitimate or should not be aired. You know, the government should not stop, because look, Nigeria is composed of different ethnic nationality. Before the British came, you know, we are nations of nations. We have countries that in Europe today, some countries are not as big as Ibira in terms of the population. Some countries in the world can fill the national stadium. What's the name of that country that was in the World Cup that surprised Cape Verde? If you put the whole of Cape Verde into Akwa Ibom Stadium, you know, they will fill up that's the population of the whole country. But the methods, the principle, the methods they were going was what I was against. And Simon Ekpa rose. And then you now have the unknown gunmen. And then you bring the battle to your own people. You turn your homeland into the ground zero of the so-called agitation. You know, I am hoping that at some point, you know, maybe there will be some sort of amnesty, you know, to free, quote and unquote, every political detainee in the country, you know. But the murders, this state murder in the southeast was not justified. The murder by unknown gunmen is not justified. And whatever you're fighting for does not justify the murder of security men, just like the security men are not justified to murder innocent people and members of IPOB who are not armed. The double standard is quite clear. Like, I blame the government too. If they had also the same force they put on IPOB, if they put the same force on bandits, or maybe a Mr. Dokubo with his own armed bandits in the South, maybe the people of the Southeast will see that a sense of justice, that this is not just against our region, that anybody carrying arms across the country, you know, should face the full weight of the law in the country.
All right, thank you, Kayode. Before we come to you, Jide, let me ask one more question from my phone. This is from Kulata, and it says, you have been on different sides of Nigeria's political debates over the years. Looking back, which position of political judgment do you believe you got wrong? And what did you learn from it?
That's an interesting question. I would say I've been always right in most of my political decisions, except for the support for President Buhari. I overestimated President Buhari's resolve to fight corruption. And that was the basis for me supporting President Buhari, because I was quite nostalgic about the Buhari-Idiagbon combination, because for me, indiscipline was the core of our problem in the country. Corruption was the core of our problem in the country, you know. And that is the area I would say, with the benefit of insight, I would have completely stayed out of that election. Probably not support Goodluck Jonathan, but just remain. That was the only miscalculation I would say I've made, because at the end of the day, it's now clear that there were more corrupt people in that government than people that were not corrupt. You know, the areas where I didn't think the president was going to do well, he did well. But the core area where the platform for which that support came in, it failed woefully. Corruption was rife under the presidency. I hope that answers the question.
One more. This is very important, but it's not well framed. I see comments around that. So let me see if I can get one of those comments. It's about the media and USAID. I think Ovie was trying to ask a question around that. There's been this, anytime somebody from the media comes here, it comes up, the issue of sponsorship of the media. And you know, media all over the world, they are struggling. And most media in Nigeria, they depend on grants from non-profits. They use this USAID to frame every media. What is your take on what was revealed by on the activities of USAID in Africa or Nigeria? And how is the media sponsored? What is the influence of money? Who pays the media? Who brings in adverts? And just go on that topic.
Oh, Rudolph, I'm going to be very careful here. I'm going to speak in tongues. I'm a follower, admirer of Chief Ganifa Wahimi. And when we were during the pro-democracy struggle, Chief Ganifa Wahimi was the only Nigeria that I know of amongst us in the activist movement that refused to collect money from any foreign donor. It was a matter of principle. Even despite the fact that we were fighting Abacha, he insisted the Americans should not be involved in how we fight the military. And I was his follower. And that is the principle I lived from now till date. And I strongly believe that any media platform that collects money from, whether it's Ford Foundation, whether it's whatever, you're subject to their dictates. And I need to be careful here, but one of the reasons why I stopped getting involved in certain platform, was when it was clear foreign funders were involved. Not that they were doing anything illegal, don't get me wrong. Not that, but for me, that was the red line I could not cross. When citizens collectively, could run a platform with zero amount, just their zeal, just their patriotism, and it became effective. But when you get into this corporate governance of writing, what do you call it?
Grants.
Those grants comes with conditions,
Kayode, I know you are speaking in parables, but let me put you on the spot because it's important. More people will jump on what you are saying now.
Yeah.
When you were at Sahara, or no, you were at Sahara, when you were helping Sahara, when you were part of Sahara, were there stories that you investigated that ended up not being published because somebody who was supporting or who was funding Sahara did not allow that story to be published?
The answer is no. And remember, I left, not left, I ceased myself, Pius Adesome, maybe Okendibe, reduced our involvement in Sahara. As a matter of fact, I got to know Sahara was being funded through Facebook. Through Facebook. Shore is alive, and since then, the interaction with the platform reduced. You continue to putting you on the spot on the platform. It's not a condemnation of the method, but it wasn't just it was on principle. Like I told you, I come from the Ganifa Wahimi Foundation, background, school of thought, and that is not an indictment on the people there. I just felt these foreign donors have a way of causing trouble where they're not, or where there is, and we can see what they're doing in the Sahel and what have you, what they did in South Sudan and those places, what they tried to do in Addis, what's Addis Ababa, where they have the country in the
Ethiopia.
So I can say 100% that I was never aware of anybody influencing the editorial policy of Sahara Reporters. But in terms of funding, not when I was there. By the time Sahara Reporters became an official platform, where they had an office, you never saw me. I've never visited the office. I don't know where it's located. It was a policy. It was a decision made by the founder to go that way. A lot of us didn't go that way. It's not an indictment on his person. It's not accusing him of anything untoward. But for some of us, it was just a red line that cannot be crossed, because these guys have a way of brewing troubles across Africa. Whether we like it or not, some of these organizations are just agents of the CIA. They they are front organizations for the American government. They would want to destabilize. All this so-called research are research for the CIA. They are not really, when they say go into one village and go and find out the number of this thing. You're spying for the CIA, basically. When you write these reports, let us know the level of this, in areas they can't put CIA agents across the globes, so they have to use NGOs, they have to use media platforms to do all these things, so that is not my line. From I left university in 92, right? From 92 till date, I have been gainfully employed. I am satisfied with the little meager thing I earn, legitimate. I can account for every single kobo. No government from Buhari, Jonathan till date can say they've ever given me a dime. If they had, the books would be clear. The Tinubu administration would have exposed me. Jonathan would have exposed me, but foreign funding is an area for me that is morally wrong. It's not morally acceptable. Not to say it's an indictment on the people who take foreign funding.
All right, thank you so much.
Because Rudolph, just to conclude, if they can fund you during peacetime, they will fund you during wartime. They will pump ammunitions into rebel groups, like they are doing in Syria, in Iraq, and all these places. And they do all these things through all these NGOs, to achieve their aim.
All right, thank you, Kayode. Jide, you're next.
Yeah, greetings, Dr. Rudolph. I think you invited a great guest. I think you invited a wonderful, well-informed, intelligent guest. I think greetings to everyone on the panel. Yeah, I was lost with a lot of his opinions. Greetings to everyone. Greetings to everyone listening. I think first of all, I really want to commend the guests, like Mr. Kayode, for being well informed with his balanced analysis. I think for most part, I think a lot of the things he has said, I really concur with a lot of things he has said. I think his foundations as well. I respectfully, I really respect the fact that his foundational grounding in politics is from Mr. Late Gani Fawemi. That's incredible as well. But there are some things that were discussed earlier. I want to go back to it actually. So a previous panelist before I came in, brought Mr. Morris. He said something about our people, which I kind of agree with, about the problem with our people, the moral bankruptcy of our people, the lack of dignity that people are going through. Not everyone. I mean, it can't be everyone. There are over 200 million people in Nigeria, but there will be exceptions. But for most part, the core of the population, I'll put it that way. When you look at the pattern of our people, and it's a concern. And I've always said it that when there is scarcity in any society, it breeds crime, it breeds violence, it breeds high level of poverty, clearly. But also, I also think one of the main, but you have that example in other parts of the world, because I always like to connect things to other parts of the world so we can learn from other parts of the world, other people that are like us. Like if you look at countries that are very poor, but they are still in alliance with their governments, they are not morally bankrupt like our people. Like if you look at what's going on in Iran, Iran is going through extreme hardship because of their war with the US, right? I need to call it out. With the US, the unjust war they waged against the country, against Iran. And the people are still standing in support of the government. The people are still standing to fight for justice, to liberate themselves from this imperial entity, right? So that's the point I'm making now is a people where the people are, for Nigeria to be successful, for Nigeria to prosper, for Nigeria to develop, the people are going to be the solution. They have to organize, like you said earlier, to vote, to organize, to revote, or to vote for the right candidate. But now, that said, the people can also be a body. And in the context of Nigeria, I'm really concerned that our people can be a body. For example, the recent election that happened, I do not see much difference from a class perspective. I do not see much difference between Tinubu that is in power and the current guy that they just voted in, Adeleke, I don't see much difference. In fact, they are all in the same class, and they manifest the same things. They are aligned with the imperial entities that are causing the destruction in our land for over 400 years. They are aligned with those people than with the people of Nigeria. So the point I'm making is, wouldn't it be a burden if the people are making the wrong choices that would hurt their future, their current reality, and would also destroy them? Like, a lot of them want Peter Obi in. But the same thing with Peter Obi too. I do not see any difference between him, Ganifa, not Ganifa, sorry, excuse me, forgive my language. Adeleke and Tinubu, because I'm very grounded in class consciousness. So I don't see any difference in all these people, and I follow them. I listen to them. I don't see any difference among these people. Tinubu, when he was not in power, he said a lot of things that Nigerians wanted to hear. He talked about poverty, he talked about corruption. Now he's there, right? The same thing Peter Obi is doing. He's calling out corruption, calling out all those things. I can go on, and I don't have a lot of time talking about this elites, these criminal elites. But the point I'm making is, I think the people can also be a body, because if, for instance, there's a coup in Nigeria, for instance, if there's a coup in Nigeria today, and the people in power, the military head of states, they want to actually develop Nigeria. They are implementing policies that will favor the development of Nigeria. We're talking about NGOs. We're talking about CIA. We're talking about the people that are vulnerable, not properly informed. They want America to come and bomb Nigeria to fight terrorism. Those kind of people will be used as a lever to cause regime change on the military. So now the people can also be a burden. So now my question is, it may be a long go, but I'll be fast. If you look at history all over the world, in as much as I do not want bloodshed in Nigeria, I do not want violence in Nigeria for a real change to happen in Nigeria. I do not want that. Apart from the fact that that's my country, whether that's my homeland, I believe that doesn't guarantee any solution. Now, if you look at history, if you look at countries that have liberated themselves and are developed now, a lot of them went through that process. If you look at Korea, the history of South Korea, they were communists. I'm not anti-communist. For everyone that knows me, I am not anti-communist. But this is an example. What happened was the United States, when they came to orchestrate the Korean War, and they bombed 50 million people. About million, I can't remember 50 million, but millions of Koreans died. You know what the Americans did? They decided to reorientate the South Koreans away from the anti-imperial, anti-colonial mindsets that they had, the resistance mindsets. Likewise, the Soviet Union, when Stalin came to power, he purged out millions of people. In fact, it was a very murky and dirty battle the time he was in power to reorientate the Russian people towards align with communism. So the point I'm making is, how can our liberation come, or how can Nigeria get to that promised land without the people being a burden? Because currently, as it stands, the people seem to be a burden rather than them being organizing to take their destiny. I'll stop there. Thank you. I don't have a lot of time. Thank you.
You've taken a lot of time. You say you don't have a lot of time. Kayode, go ahead.
I think it is made of the people can be a burden, they can also be an advantage. I think I keep going back to revolutionary change, and I always try to limit my examples to Africa because we have almost similar kind of, situation, and I've looked at countries that have gone through revolution, quote and unquote, in recent times. South Sudan. In fact, this actually fits into the IPOB narrative. South Sudan sought self-determination and they got a country. And today, they are worse off than when they were with Sudan. It's quote and unquote a Christian and animist nation. No, Islam has been chased out, but it's literally an ungoverned state. That's South Sudan, right? Almost homogeneous. Sudan went through a revolution, a people's revolution. They had this woman that was like Aisha Yusuf, that is the symbol, that the Western media promoted. The picture is all over the place. Revolution has come. Today, Sudan is gone. The war is still going on in Sudan. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of Sudanese cursing that woman who is the symbol of democracy, and say, look, we should have stayed where we are. Libya, Gaddafi, the West, sort of, there's a revolution, good governance. Today, Libya collapsed, transcended and affected all the way to Nigeria. We're paying. Boko Haram is as a result of arms that came out from Libya. I can go on and on. Syria, is it Syria you want to talk about? And that is where I say sometimes we need to balance. It's like you want to. It's like I see it as an elastic. Liberation in terms of elastic. Like you draw it. You see, if we draw this in too much, it goes snap. And if it snaps, there's nothing for us again. This is where my position is. Not that I've been a revolutionary. I mean, for God's sake, I was arrested allegedly for taking part in the knowing about a coup. I faced a military tribunal by the Babangida regime with 5 generals on the panel, thanks to Ganifa Wemi, who stood for me as a lawyer. Spent over 2 months in just prison. So it's not a matter of coward. It is learning from our mistakes. And I say there's something I forgot to say, Rudolph. With the Nigerian left, we blame the Nigerian people, but even us, we failed. Whether it's Shore, whether it's Ogundamisi, whether it's Opeyemi Bamidele, whether it's our late comrade, that is the Shima Obani, we failed. We fought for democracy, right? And then when it was time to go into election, we threw power into the streets for the Tinumbus to pick up. We were like, no, we don't want to be into politics. We were so rigid. It's either national conference or nothing. And the Boris, the Tinumbus, the Ojus or Kalus, who opposed us, who were with the military, Ojus or Kalu was part of the 10,000, 1 million man for Abacha. We fought for power, we got power from the military, and we left it on the street for the same politicians, the political class, to hijack power. Tinubu was never in the left movement. He was never in the left movement. He only joined during Abiola's struggle, and he was abroad. He spent his money on it, So we cannot sort of alienate ourselves from the blame. Our contemporaries in other parts of the world who took part in pro-democracy struggle, they did the struggle, they took over power, they put their vision in place, and their countries are a bit better for it. Otherwise, someone like Shore at the age of 50 should not continue to be carrying placard on storming courts every single day, because our contemporaries in other parts of the world are already retiring or they are in government. So we can't sort of alienate ourselves from the blame too. So I always avoid comparing ourselves to countries outside of Africa. I always try to restrict within Africa, So I believe truly our people are also an impediment on their own progress, but it's a combination of the people and the leadership, and Osun demonstrated that people have the capacity to resist. I keep going back to Peter Obi. Peter Obi's 7 million votes demonstrated that people also have the capacity when they are determined to resist. It's just how do they consolidate on this effort? How do we how do people who are campaigning for change penetrate this and support them? How do we get somebody like fantastically Shora is doing well? How do we get him to the point where he's able to provide an organized leadership for the left, in which he's not seen as it's just Shore, that's the missing link, basically.
All right. This is an interesting conversation, but we've done 3 hours. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we round up There are so many follow-up questions that a lot of people have. I still have questions coming to my phone. Mazavara is here. Before we go, Kayode, I want you to think about this because you said something about South Sudan. And I remember the pushback I always have about this example of South Sudan. They fought for more than 30 years before they finally got their independence. I don't think a group of people who've been fighting for 30 years, you have a generation who knew nothing but war, you grant them independence and expect them to just start enjoying and
now they're still fighting.
Yeah, they have to continue. That's all they know. It will take a while before you get a nation. But the question I always have for people who use that example is, if the story was different, if they got independence and they are living peaceful life, happy, and is the best country in Africa, would that make people in countries like Nigeria to say, oh, if the Biafrans want to go, let them go. If the Odua people want to go, let them go. Would that be an incentive to say, let them go? And for people who are saying, for instance, there are people who are saying they don't want the Odua people to leave, would they now say, are they saying that because they care about them? Or are they saying that because they just don't want them to leave? If you don't care about them, let them go. If they fight, let them fight and kill themselves. What do you care? They are living. And when you were talking before, you mentioned that no part of Nigeria can actually break up and go. If they decide today, people in the north, that we don't want to leave, like extreme north, like Sokoto, Zamfara, if they say they want to leave, will anybody fight them? Do you think there are a group of people in Nigeria that will say, oh, you can't leave? These are questions. These are debates we could have, and it's a long conversation. But I don't know if you have to say something before going.
Yeah, it is. Look, it's difficult to break Nigeria. Is a very difficult task. I designed with some committee, with Dr. Fasheun, with quite a number of Yoruba intellectuals. We actually designed the geographical boundary of Yoruba land. We designed what we'll do in terms of immigration, what will be in terms of policy. We couldn't come into an agreement. We could not. I can reveal it here. Even within this core underground movement, it was like, okay, why is it Ondo? Why not Ibadan is the historical capital? Why must it be? In fact, Lagos people were saying that we are not part of whatever you are doing. We just want to use Lagos resources to establish a Yoruba nation. So it's, and apart from that, we are so intermarried, interconnected, everything. Look, I went to Anwar Islam College in Lagos. There are Igbo boys who were in my class that when you meet them today, you will never believe they are Igbo. They are more Yoruba in many cases than a lot of my Yoruba people. You get what I'm saying? It's hard. And you talk about northern Nigeria. When last did you? I was in Sokoto, right? You will not believe within Sokoto there are parts of Sokoto, like if you step, this is Niger, this is Sokoto. You're able. How do you divide? It's tough. And the question of thinking the north is homogeneous is wrong.
Yeah, I'm not saying the whole north. Okay, I came back from Kano last year. I was in Kano. To me, I saw the Salah event. It was a different world. Now, you remember when Majorca, I was in school when Majorca planned the coup. And I remember Majorca said that this part of the north, they are not part of Nigeria. And we are kids. I was in I think first year in college. And we were saying to Northerners in our college, you go, you are not part of Nigeria. No, I think that if that part of the country should say that they are leaving. The point is, I don't see the Yoruba people or the people in the South or the Southeast or the Middle Belt raising an army to say, oh, Sokoto, you can't leave Nigeria. Zamfara, you can't leave Nigeria. So I'm saying that to say that when you say that dividing Nigeria, if they actually come together and say, we want to leave.
Rudolph, we are okay. The clear difference between us on this platform and ordinary members of the OPC, IPOB, and those other groups is that we can put our emotions aside. despite our position, and look at things from a very scientific, I'm a political scientist, right? There is one constitution of Nigeria. Whoever is the president of Nigeria is sworn in to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Whether the person is Igbo, whether he's Hausa, whether he's Fulani, right? And the ruling elite, the standard is they want to sustain their class structure, right? They will do everything possible. So to break away from Nigeria, you will need a referendum. A referendum is not in the constitution of Nigeria. Anybody who has seen a referendum in our constitution should please tell me. It's not there. To introduce referendum into our constitution, you need 2/3 of the National Assembly and the State Assembly. The number of states who do not want Nigeria to break, so you can't put that in place. So it means what are your options? Your option is to fight, which Nnamdi Kanu has tried. Well, first Ojukwu tried, and now Nnamdi Kanu tried. He didn't even go halfway because he collapsed on his head. So even if somebody starts that, like, wrong to even just say Nnamdi, even with the OPC, we tried. It led to inter-factional fight. More people died. We didn't even get an inch. We didn't even get to Kwara, not to talk of being able to get a republic. So yes, you might have the wish to want to leave the country, but the only possible way will be through illegitimate means, quote and unquote. When I say illegitimate means, I don't mean you don't have a right to self-determination, but I'm talking that as far as the constitution is concerned, doing it will be violating the constitution, and this ruling elite will protect that system that is in place. And that's when, the only option is to go the South Sudan way. It means we have to fight a war, a long war, to the point that you make Nigeria ungovernable. So the ruling elite will now say, you know what, at this stage, make Unakuku go, because at the end of the day, there is no Abuja again. Abuja has been bombed. There is no Oka again. Just carry your wahala and go. And when you all go, you now have to be dealing with your own intertribal crisis, where in the southeast they will tell me, if you see an Mbise man, a snake or a python, kill the Mbise man and leave the python. So the intra competition amongst us will now break southeast into small pieces again. And resource control and the lack of good governance is what increases agitation, and the lack of justice and equality amongst the ethnic nationality is what is increasing the agitation for breakaway. If the Igbo man, Hausa man, Igala man are able to live peacefully in any parts of Nigeria, do their trade, and they are progressing, they won't even remember. Look, when I served in Enugu, there was no hostility. I could go party in any part of southeastern Nigeria. Ordinary people were intrigued by me, a Yoruba person, being in Enugu. They were intrigued. It was like as if, this person is different from us. Oh, Copper, come and eat Ofe Nsala. Oh, there's Onugbo here. Try this one, try that one. But as Nigeria continues to degenerate, we start blaming people who do not look like us for the problem that is caused by the ruling elite.
All right, thank you. We have to.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Take a break. When we come back, I see Mazokara, I see Okija, and then one question from my phone, and maybe one from the comments, and that will be it. So we'll postpone it for another time. Let's take a break. Thank you, everyone.
Onye ọma zoro obi o, akwa nwa zoro obi o, Max ịbịa bunyegokwanụ m n'ofu ube n'azụ ụlaga n'ịbịa zugo, mmanwụ ụlaga do n'ịbịa zugo, akwa nwa ilochi o, biko rapụ zoro ka ọ nabazi ya. Onye ọma zoro biko, abụmma nwa sorry. Ibia wunyane gwana mo. Ulaga ni biazigo. Mo ulaga ni biazigo. Abamba wilo chila. Bigora fuzoro. Ona wazi. Mazi weko mama. Odogu no kwerezu neka. Onyomo niga dele mo. Mazi ni bazi kama. Ibu go with melody. You got to go where you're for. Odogu na chala noka. Ezi one mliga delemo. Olaga doni bezigo no. Mo olaga doni bezigo. Amama wilo chilo. Bigora muzoro. Anabaze. Say, onyama zoro no. Sorry, if I were to go on a fool, Mulaga, don't be a sugar, Nazaboy. Mulaga, don't be a sugar. I'm a willow chilo, because I put ice. A dog can never be kitchen for. I'm a Pamnika Gogodia. Well, you work well. You get your mobile bag. Hey, you want? Eku Kampune Kene. I'm a gun so. Chukwu negaji esi nwanne m ekene ịlapụl ife niile na-eme wee bịa ka gosili na anyị na gị bụ nwanne Wisdom ga-adị ka nye gị maịkị ka ogobanya bụ egwu isili maxi ọ bụ na-etiri egwu a malụkwa malụ n'imego m ife ọjọọ wesi gị nwanne m ife ọbụ na ịchọlụ na ngeme Wisdom onume ekene gị gbamanwe ihe ihe biko lapụ na-abasị ya zoro 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 Geduru joy na bugwa Hausa Sokoto Ujembe mwilo Anu solo mwe manofia nara Onye nwuro zurike
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much. This is our concluding part of our conversation with Kayode Ogundamisi, who is an analyst. He was a student union leader, and he's seen Nigeria go through a lot of transformation. and now he's based in the UK. He's joined us to talk about the current state of things in Nigeria. So, as part of this conclusion, we will take a few more questions from the people who are here to ask questions. I will start with the question I have on my phone from the flagship. He said this. I have a question for you, our guest. He said he has worked with Tinubu in the past. What does he think about Tinubu's refusal to address the nation on any matter since he assumed office? Is this normal for him, or is this a deliberate act to refuse to speak to the nation on anything at all? To connect this question to something that I had, Apitobi was speaking the other day, and he said that he would like all the candidates to explain what they are going to do to the nation, and also he will want them to participate in a debate, for Tinubu to participate in a debate. What do you make of that? The general question about addressing the nation.
Rudolph, if you remember,
But by the time, though, before you say that, let me just say something. You said in that last election, I think I played that. Hold on.
Yeah. That was where I was
Oh,
going.
you were going to go there.
I was going to go there.
let me play that for people to because
to
you are
understand the
responsible
context.
for this.
Yeah.
Will you be saying now? Sorry, let me go back to the beginning.
Things are different now.
So, if you were advising someone like Tinubu, what will you be saying now?
He should not open his mouth again until election day.
He should just go and dance booger.
He should just let other people speak, because each time Tinubu opens his mouth, it's like he's scoring another own goal, and it's quite unfortunate. Because look, Tinubu, you can't take it away for Tinubu is a seasoned administrator. He was a very good governor in Lagos State, and he was a very good investor on human resources. He's brought out a lot of, just name them, Aregbeshola, Oshibat, and he's got a high to form a good team. And I have no doubt that if of Tinubu of 10 years ago will form a very good team in the Villa for Nigeria. But the Tinubu of today, I'm not too sure, and that is one of the reasons why I can't confidently say I'm going to support this campaign. So if he wants to really go ahead to win this election, his chances are a bit okay, but the more he opens his mouth, the more he sort of just make false errors. Even eating out, even people who are traditionally his friends will start wondering, is everything okay there?
All right. So you advised Tinubu not to participate in the debate in the last election.
Yeah.
Are you saying he should not talk for the rest of the? He hasn't even traveled recently.
Yeah. I think there's a big elephant in the room. I'm not a medical doctor, and even those of us who look elder than the president, we might go before the president. No one can say. People who said Buhari was going to die 2 months into his presidency, there are quite a number of them that left before Buhari. So we are not in a position, unless we've analyzed, we have the medical records to say that this person is not fit. But we can only see from our perception that clearly the president does not look like is someone who spends a whole day in office Monday to Friday. It seems to be managed, packaged, I don't know the state of his health. I don't know, but clearly it's being, when the president is being managed, you might manage away from the people. During the Abacha years, there was a time we never saw Abacha in public, so I suspect he's not in a position to address the Nigerian people. He has not even have the state of the press address. That is not good for our democracy. A president should be accountable to the people. A president should be transparent, in which media, he should be able to come and speak to the press. They should be able to take him on any decision. And I agree with Peter Obi that there should be a presidential debate, so that Nigerians can, from that conversation, some Nigerians can make up their mind. But I suspect that it's not the best of times, right from when he got into office till now. Because the other day I did an analysis, he spent a lot of time out of the country than most presidents out of the country. And curiously, he's no longer the UK, he's consistently going to France, where he's friends with Sarkozy, and they can manage and keep a close tight on whatever.
You mean Macron?
Macron, sorry, I said Sarkozy. You know, they can, unlike in the UK where we easily can dig out things from our experience. I mean, I'm not, people don't like me for this. I was the one that discovered where Ojukwu was. You know, if you remember, when Peter Obi was telling us Jim Ojukwu was carrying weight in London, and I had to dig out, visit the hospital in Royal Berkshire, and said to Indigo, Peter Obi back then as the governor was lying. Jim Odumego Ojukwu is not lifting any weight. He's here in Royal Berkshire, and they are siphoning thousands of dollars from the pockets of Anambra State, claiming they are paying his bill when he was under Royal Berkshire under the NHS. You know, so it's the same thing with Tinubu. I think there's something that is not being told to is not the public are not aware of, and so they are managing him. It will just expose him if he comes to address the press, but which I think he should. I mean, you should be able to, particularly now that he's been president for 4 years, you know, almost 4 years. He should be able to face a debate, and I believe he should be able to be held to account in a presidential debate, which I don't think he will take part in anyway.
All right. Thank you so much, Kayode. Let's go to Mazi Opara. You are next.
Yeah, good evening, Doctor. And good evening,
Damisi.
Yeah, Kayode. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good evening. You spoke, lengthily about IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
My question is, when did IPOB become violent? Which year? And which year did General Buhari prescribe IPOB? Because I followed you very, very well on Twitter before you blocked everybody. You and Loretta on the chair, and Barrister Wanda Obani, Professor Chris Nwokobia, all of you guys were the people that concocted that, and Jimmy Disu, you were the people that were calling those people who were anti-Buhari. You called us the Wellers. You were very fanatical about Buhari. You blocked everybody that criticized Buhari from 2015 to 2019. You were so sensitive about critics. And my question is, I am not an IPOB member, but I followed what was going on there in Igbo land. Could you please tell us how IPOB, how and when did the agitation become violent? Because I remember vividly that these young men in Igbo land, none of them carried even stick. None of them carried even dagger. But they were, Buhari sent his army, they mowed them down in cold-blooded, and you particularly, you praised Buhari for killing innocent Igbo youths who did nothing but to say, give us referendum, give us Biafra. In fact, I'm already on my nightgown. That's why I stood up, because the way you painted everything now, I see that, you were so pro Nnamdi. No, you were not. You were anti Nnamdi Kanu, anti Biafra. In fact, it was you that concocted Biafra. You and Loretta Onochie, I followed the whole thing. So my question is, when did the agitation become violent? Because the Nnamdi Kanu, when he established that ESN, it was 2020 after Python Dance 1, which you celebrated, Python Dance 2, which you did, and why Nnamdi Kanu established that ESN was not to declare war against Nigeria. It was against Fulani militia that were raping our women in Igbo land. The same Fulani people, now that I'm saying this Fulani herdsmen, sorry, Marodi Fulani herdsmen that are everywhere now in Nigeria, in Oyo State, everywhere, killing and maiming. But you particularly were very happy that Buhari was killing innocent Igbo people. You called them Biafra, you called them all kind of names. My question is, when did the IPO agitation become violent? Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Mazi.
thank you, Mazi. You see, one of the good thing of one of the fantastic things about technology is that we're not in 1966. We're in 2026, where facts are different from emotion. What would have helped the audience would have been for you to pull out the tweets and read the exact thing I said. That would help us, you know. There is no way I would ever celebrate the killing of any human being, you know. So in this case, it would be my word against yours. But what would have helped was for you before, you know.
Because you blocked everybody.
No, what I didn't block you from researching. You know, you come with the facts. You know, if who comes to equity must come with clean
No,
hands.
but I can't because you blocked a lot of people. You blocked me too.
I don't know you, but I can claim that I blocked you because you were irresponsible. But that would be me making up stories.
You were horrible.
Wait, let me land. That would be me making up stories because I don't know you. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying that what would have helped would be for you to come here and say, Mr. Ogundamisi, look at this is what you wrote on so day and da 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 da. Then we can interrogate that. Let us leave that aside, right? You see, I did not put words into Nnamdi Kanu's mouth when he went to the USA to address World Igbo Congress and openly called that he wanted guns and bombs. I didn't put that into his mouth. You know, he went to World Igbo Congress and he was openly calling for the mobilization of guns and weapons. And I wrote an article that this is a dangerous trajectory. I didn't put word into Nnamdi Kanu's mouth when he established a radio station in Peckham, in which I know the address, by the way, and continue to spew very venomous, provocative statement. And I kept one. I said, look, your causes are right, but these methods does not help the cause. And I have no regrets. As a matter of fact, it's not just Nnamdi Kanu. There's a man called grandson.
Grandson, Adeyinka grandson,
who is a Yoruba man who spewed a lot of anti-Igbo sentiment on Facebook. I'm hated for this. I warned him, he didn't listen. I went to Metropolitan Police. I supplied him with a lot of information. He went to jail for it. You know, so those are facts. Those are not emotions. I have no regret. And a lot of Igbos today who are victims of this recklessness are now supporting my position. I coined Biafra because there's a difference between Biafra and Biafra. Biafra is a legitimate cause of the Igbo people for the emancipation of Igbo race. But Biafra is hiding behind the legitimate cause of the Igbo people to raise funds to create an atmosphere where southeastern Nigeria becomes ungovernable. So that's you might disagree, but that's my position.
When did Buhari proscribe IPOB? When did Buhari send Python Dance 1-2 to kill Igbo people were IPOB violent? That's what I'm trying to let you answer.
What I've said to you, I would never sanction any state oppression.
You did, my friend.
But provide the evidence,
yeah,
right?
Because you brought everybody. You did.
There'll be newspaper clippings,
No. Tweet to your tweet.
Where is you? I never
you coined bear fraud. You coined bear fraud.
I admit, and I've just explained the meaning of bear fraud
because
to you.
Look, let me tell you, I lived in London. I lived in Camberwell while you were in hacking. I know you very well. Don't come here and deceive the gullible people that don't know you very well.
I've just told you Biafra, that I stand by it. That
but
the meaning.
Biafra, you use the Biafra to accuse Igbo people, not only IPOB. Don't come here and mess up the whole thing.
You can't come into my brain. Biafra. Let me state it again, Mazi Opara and people who might listen. Biafra. The meaning of Biafra are people who are using the legitimate cause of the Igbo people.
It's not true. When the whole thing was not violent, you coined it 2016. When the whole thing was not even violent.
I'm not denying it. I'm just explaining the meaning to you.
What are we talking about?
It's left for you to accept it or not.
Good night. The only thing is that you guys, your kind of people are the people who speak from both sides of your mouth.
No.
You come here, you pretend to be the friend of everybody, but you,
people
who agree, somebody like you that fought the military, you supported Buhari, the second coming of Buhari. Are you not ashamed?
No, I'm not. I'm not ashamed of it.
Good night from here.
Biafra, let me say it so that you might not like to hear it. Biafra is the use of the cause of the Igbo people, right, to raise funds to cause violence in southeastern Nigeria. Biafra is a legitimate cause of the people of southeastern Nigeria that they would they have the legitimate right to campaign upon. When I opposed Sunday Igboho when he was trying to turn every Fulani in Yoruba land as the enemy, what was that? It was important to be clear that you would not use the cause of the people for your own self-regret. And I have no regret. And there are thousands of Igbo people who now saw that we were on the right side of history. I'm sorry if you don't agree with that, but unfortunately, we agree to disagree on this.
All right, thank you, Mazi. Let's go to Okija. Okija, we can see you very well. Wipe your screen. Why is your image now?
If you can see me, you can see me. If your glasses are not working, get another one.
All right, go ahead, Okija.
Mr. Ogundamisi, not Kayode, like the girl called Tony. Anyway, I want to thank you, especially for being Igbo protector, this and that. I've heard you so much, and we've noted your accomplishment defending Igbos, and
I've not said I'm defending Igbo.
Because you kept saying you went to MI5 or MI6 to supply information about Adekunle grandson. You are not, I don't know if
I didn't say MI5 and MI6 because it's always important to correct because we just
security agency. Went to security agency. But first of all, I want to tell you, I'm one of those people that reported that guy. Okay. I reported it to MI5, MI6. CIA, FBI, and I wrote a letter to submit, give to my friends. I said, let them report him. Anyway, but your challenge with Mazapara, I see you defending yourself. I mean, I've known you. Last time I encountered you here, it was about a misinformation you spread about P2B, and it's still on your profile on Twitter. You still have it. You haven't deleted it. You haven't apologized about it. That was my last encounter with you here. And also, why your name came up also, Igbo defenders, your name came up as one of those people who spread information about Igbo, anti-Igbo information online. For instance, like I was looking at some of your posts. In hold on, let me get to my monitor. On December 29, 2024, you posted about one Igbo guy, if you know Onyebuchi in France, please let him know that his business partner Ifeanyi has excreted about 9 out of 74. So for drugs. Hopefully, if Annie will deliver the remaining pallets safely, then you mentioned NDLA should consider surgical excavation. And also, like some other posts, you posted about Igbo guy that was his romance scam accusation having in the US. And then when people go to your to your profile on Twitter, we don't see that Yoruba cases, people will say Yoruba, you don't see you say anything. Yoruba people, they've caught in fraud, you don't post about them. And the case of KC Luxury, it's made news. We don't see your post. We don't see your post. You see that your ammunition, that your gun is no longer firing or what? When drug cases come up. I mean, why all these things? So I mean, I've always known you as a hidden tribal bigot. That's my opinion of you. Because of what I've seen you post online. Those hidden tribal bigots, that would come masquerade, they're Nigerian, they're pro-Nigerian, but underneath, they just, tribalist.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, you don't have to answer, but because you can't change my mind.
No. I've just because you see,
from what you post, I know you.
Yeah. So I think the problem is sometimes we can be very selective in what we read. I've just done a search on my Twitter page, which I will get you to do at some point later. One of the things I will do is I'll continue to post every Nigerian, that is soiling the name of Nigeria, irrespective of where they come from. And if you do a search, you will see the number of Nigerians who are Yorubas who have been convicted of crimes outside of Nigeria that I posted. They're there. I'm actually scrolling them, but you will select to see only the Igbo people that are on the post. And for example, whether the person is Igbo or Yoruba, why are you agitated that a drug dealer was exposed? Why is that? Why is
No,
that an
I'm just
agitation?
you're selective posting.
I'm reading.
Posting. That's what I'm getting.
Look. Wait. Let me read one to you now. In Ogun State, a fugitive wanted by the Americans for allegedly being a drug baron, Buruji Kashamu.
When did you post that?
Wait, I'm looking at it now. That was 2019. This is Oyefolu Jamiu has been declared wanted in America. There's another one. This is 2024. The National Drug Law Agency has declared a couple, Kazim Omogoriola Owolade, Rashidat Ayinke Owolade, wanted for drug baron. This is another one. Yemi Anifowoshe has been nabbed by the United States Drug Law Enforcement Agency but when you are seeing things from a tribal perspective, your attention will be on your tribesmen that has been exposed. But everybody got equal. So I would beg of you to go back, do a Yoruba search, just say Kayode Ogundamisi drug Yoruba names. It will give you all this. And I'm scrolling through it. Unfortunately, we can't do a screen share. Yeah, you will see a number of Yoruba people. Look, this is another one. Bishi Taiwo, nabbed by NDLA. The photo is there, sitting on a drug pallet. There's another Yoruba woman, Temitope Ayeni Olaiya, pleased guilty of drug trafficking and fraud schemes in the United States of America.
That's
Rudolph, you can do it. You can do that search,
Yes.
So you can do that search. This is another, you see different names, they come from across the country. Yes.
Ogundamisi.
Yes,
that's
the
handle. You have it. Okay.
Just put Ogundamisi drug and scroll all the way down. You will see as many Yoruba as you see as Igbo. But of course, if you already have this perception, you will only see the Igbo names and you get agitated by it. And at the end of the day, if you post a Yoruba drug dealer, that Yoruba person is not my tribal person as well. He's a criminal. If an Igbo man is posted for being a drug dealer, it does not represent the Igbo people. He's a drug dealer. Nobody should defend them because they come from the south.
Nobody is defending them. I just want to make sure that you are equally.
No, I'm telling. Yeah, I beg you to go and do a search. Just put Ogundamisi drug dealers. This is another one. His photo is there. So you will see. What I'll beg of you, go back, do a search one after the other. You see people from different parts of the country that were exposed for drug dealing.
All right, thank you, Okija. Sorry, I couldn't on this platform, this computer. I'm not connected to the internet, so so I couldn't pull anything up. But thank you, Okija, for that. Let's finally the last question will come from forefathers.
Greetings, Dr. Damages. Greetings to all the panelists, the chat, and the viewers, and special greetings to the guest, Kayode Ogundamisi. Thank you for joining us this Sunday. And I think the point I wanted to kind of add was what Gide was trying to elaborate. He was on, yes. And it's regarding the kind of the term collective intelligence and group dynamics. He was trying to imply that Nigerians needed certain events to occur before changes can happen. Example, when he tried to use with North Korea and South Korea, what happened there? Because after that event, I think 80% of their structures were destroyed by the Americans. But within 4 years, they built an underground navigation train lines, 100 meters underground within 4 years, after their country has been destroyed. And if you look at China too, after they were invaded by the Japanese, this is a country that has been suffering for a very long time. They never turned back since then. And the Mao Zedong, when he went to Stalin in the Soviet Union, the first thing he asked them for was their nuclear technology. He didn't go and say we needed training and all the rest, because these people had clarity of thought. They knew what it was like to be in the world, and they don't want to experience it anymore. So yes. So the point he was trying to highlight, and which I also subscribe to, is that we blame our leaders and we talk as if the situation we are facing is just ordinary stuff you can just solve with economic problem or lack of corruption. Like the stuff is something you can just do because you know this will solve the problem. But without the core belief from the elites that fought for the nation to fulfill those goals, you're not going to have the ability to build that nation. Because our leaders, when they got their independence, they basically shook hands with their oppressors, and they were working with the oppressors before the oppressors left. So in other words, they are still in cahoots with them till today. You mentioned how Tinubu is going to France, and he even changed our national anthem to that written by a white woman. So you can see that our consciousness is not where it's supposed to be to free ourselves. And sometimes I find it hard to blame our people as it is, because when I do that from the context that, okay, when we are looking at it locally and, from a closer point of view, these are the things we are supposed to be doing, at least to put ourselves in a better shape. But I don't believe we have moved an inch from where we were after the colonization wars. When we lost control of our territory, we've never built it back up. We don't have any security. And this is another aspect of society that we as a people have not woken up to. Like I said, Mao Zedong went to the Soviet Union, and the first thing he asked was their nuclear technology. Immediately, they offered him economic support. He said, no, I'm not interested. I want that one. Because if without that, our future is not assured. And this is the point. Our people don't have that mindset because we think it's optional to try to beat corruption. And it's almost like it's an impossible thing. The only way to convince the people is if they live through it historically. And I've seen it on the continent. This is why most of the continent is asleep. Because they've not been jolted to wake up and say, you know what? This is a world that we have to fight for our survival. We have to build our nation. Every single thing we do every day has consequences for others to come and take everything away from us. Like we are right now. There is no other major race in the world out of the 4 great races that number over 1 billion that is so vulnerable as the black race on the face of the earth. That is what he was trying to highlight, that we as a people are still asleep. And the question I will raise there is that, looking at that dynamics, is how do we wake our people up? Because I know for sure there are leaders in other climes that are ruthless. And I feel like we like to think that our leaders are ruthless. They are not. They are not. They are like child's play compared to what a Japanese leader would do. These are people that if they don't fulfill their goal, they are going to put salt to their tummies and their head will be cut off. We don't have those type of leadership. Our leadership don't understand that. They like to peacock. And this is the question. The question comes down to how do we get ourselves, without resorting to the suffering that the other people suffered, to a situation whereby we have that clarity of thought that we have to fight for our survival in this world. Because if you are not strong enough to resist influence from the outside, you can't make informed, good decisions for your people, and your development cannot be sustainable. It's just simply unsustainable if you cannot defend it. Your home, if you don't have doors, if you don't have windows, anybody else that sees your well to come and take it away. And if you don't, your body, if it doesn't have white blood cells to fight off potential infections, you will not be able to survive. Hence why, if I look at Nigeria today, and we've had all this insurgency and everything, people still don't get it. That we are extremely vulnerable. After what they've seen happening in Iran, we are still vulnerable. We have not done anything about our ability to survive in this world. So do you have any idea, anything that you've observed from Nigeria and from the continent, something that is going to move us in the direction of trying to get what we lost during the colonization wars? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the first step is to actually define who we are, redefine who we are as a people and how we want to live together as a people. Secondly, we need to increase the capacity of the states. When we say the states, I mean the people, knowing that if they have people for example, I keep going back to the issue of insecurity, self-sustenance, self-governance. It's only because of the ingenuity of our people that we are still surviving. Ordinarily, we shouldn't even be saying that we are existing. If we increase the capacity of our people to be self-reliant, the issue of foreigners, deciding what we do, who we are, will be completely taken away. Who are we as a people? Have we really answered that question about our Nigerianness? Let me give you an example. In foreign policy, are we on the same page as a people about the issue in Palestine? The way somebody from northern Nigeria will see our foreign policy on Palestine will be different from the way someone from southern Nigeria would see our policy on Palestine. Those are the kind of contradictions that gives an opportunity for foreign powers, to sort of be on our face, to sort of use that kind of disagreement to control us. So we need to first identify and I keep going back to the national question. We've not answered the question of who are we as a people, until we resolve that. It's either we resolve that or we have consistent good governance. We're still just going to be going on a merry-go-round, and still generation after generation, we're still going to be having the crisis that we're dealing with today.
All right, thank you, forefathers. We have to round up here. I want to give Kayode.
You could always add a follow-up.
No, not today. Not today. We have.
Sorry.
I want to give Kayode the opportunity to round up his thoughts and final words. And during that process, I want you to quickly address something that is of concern to me. Bola Ige talked about Nigeria being on the road to Kigali. I know you know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years since he passed, and Nigeria today. Do you think that we're still on that path, on that road to Kigali? And again, Nnamdi Kanu, the government just announced that they are not appealing. They wanted to push the courts to give him death penalty instead of life in prison. Do you think he should be released where Sowore and Prince Adewale, Adebayo and other people are pushing for him to be released? Do you think he should be released? And finally, as you look at 2027, what would a politician do to get your vote in that election? So you can touch on these things as you round up.
What's the first question? Because I
The
was
first,
writing.
the first one is Bolage on the road to Kigali. Do you think that because people who are online, they look at the temperament of people in Nigeria, they feel that if Bolage is alive today, he will feel that we're actually close to getting there. That anything can trigger a kind of reaction that will shock the nation, just like people in Kigali were shocked about what they did to themselves in 1994.
Yeah.
So that's the first question.
Okay. So the first one, the these days it's very difficult to predict the Nigerian people. You know, particularly the electorate. It's very difficult. Are we on the road to Kigali? It's quite difficult. One moment they surprise you, they are consistent, and then another moment things go away. So I think we're really getting to the elastic is really being pulled to the extent that it might break anytime from now. But Nigeria has a wave of relapsing that elastic, particularly when they know that it's going to lead to an uncontrollable crisis. I mean, I give an example. Can we sustain 2 weeks of sustained protest in a place like Lagos or in Port Harcourt? By the end of the second week, people are already saying, when I really want to eat, or I have to go back, and get something to eat. We saw that during NSAS. After a certain period, people were like, okay, we've made our point. Let's go back and do that. So it's very difficult. That we're on the road to Kigali. I keep going back. The ruling elite would have to make up their mind whether they want this country to survive or not. What I see happening is the emergence of armed groups, which is happening time over time. And it's people with arms that are getting listened to by government. Tompolo today was a former militant. Now he's a multi-billionaire. Asari is a multi-billionaire in the Southwest. My former colleague, Gani Adam, is an area of Kakanfo. So the Nigerian ruling elite seems to be telling Nigerian youth that it's only when you arm yourself, and a lot of people are taking, going around that direction. MC Oluomo is now a kingmaker almost in the Southwest, somebody who was basically a garage boy yesterday. People now are now seeing that once you have access to violence and you can control violence, then the state will listen to you. But in terms of the generality of our people, I think they've been so pauperized. Their dignity has been so taken away that there's not a lot in them to fight. That is why during election they will just take that cup of rice if that's the only thing they can get in the next 4 years. So it will take a very long time to get them back into that mood of power is in your hand. Maybe Osun will reset the brain. Maybe that movement that supported Peter Obi in and gave him that unimaginable number of votes will reset. Time will tell. The second question is about Nnamdi Kanu. Look, Nnamdi Kanu's trial is a mixture. It's political. We can't, put aside everything that has happened. It's it will not take it doesn't take a great political scientist to know that any government would have to at some point release him, get into a political arrangement, with people leaders from that group, including himself, and find a solution. And there is historical uh, evidence to this with the OPC, with Masob. People will know that Masob was quite strong at some point. Wazurike sometimes had to realize, this is the same thing with the amnesty that was given to the Niger Delta militants by Musa Yaradua. There is no way you can keep him in detention for a very long period. You have to find a political solution to the Nnamdi Kanu question. It's a question for whoever wins the presidency, whether it's Tinubu, whether it's Peter Obi or any other person. There is the need to have a political solution. That is not to say that the violence, the violence has really gone down particularly since the trial of Simon Ekpa in Finland and his conviction, and we're hoping that we won't be going back to those days. So I would, of course, support finding a political solution, set him free, and let us have a restart of the conversation along the issue of the national question and self-determination. After all, not direct comparisons. Terrorists who are found to have killed our military men are being rehabilitated and given money, not to talk of someone who is just a leader, who is a leader of a political self-determination movement in the southeastern Nigeria. So if you can if you can rehabilitate people from certain parts of the country, I don't see why his own case should be different. Politicians that you will support in 2027. Rudolph, have you ever heard of something traumatic disorder?
PTS.
PTS. I am still yet to recover from the post-Buhari traumatic disorder. So I don't think I can put my money on anybody now because I cannot determine what they will do when they get into government. But I know who I'm not going to vote for. Certainly, I cannot vote for Mr. Tinubu. I can't vote for Mr. Atiku Abubakar, But in terms of actively supporting anybody, Buhari has taught me a very big lesson, particularly on the issue of anti-corruption. And even those who support Peter Obi or any other person today will discover that when they get into government, you can support people into government, but you cannot determine how they will change, what they will do when they get into government. It's only that time that you'll be able to know, okay, the support I gave this person is the right decision or is the wrong decision. So I
Where
don't
do you
think
draw the
there's any
line,
good.
though? Where do you draw the line between wrongdoers being forgiven and being punished? Because sooner or later, people have to be punished for wrongdoing. I've heard generals complain about how they will arrest people that have committed offenses, and the next thing they are out on the street again. So where do we draw the line? Do we say, it's when Shikau dies or when Igboho is arrested? Where do you draw the line? When we keep doing this, we are not going to get anywhere. This is the problem with the country, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have set a precedence. 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 It is. I'm not only equating Igboho with Nnamdi Kanu, but this president has rehabilitated him, brought him from exile, and is now even able to establish a security outfit and do as he wishes.
Yeah, but is it not to condemn it and say, okay, let's stop this. Let's draw a line.
So forefathers, we have to go. We don't want to cross the 4-hour mark. We can't.
So the perception is what is good for the goose is good for the gander, basically.
All right, Kayode, thank you so much for being here today. It's been wonderful. 4 hours of conversation on Nigeria. And when we booked you, we were saying we do maximum 3 hours. Thank you so much. We'll call on you again as the election gets into. I think we're getting into the heat of the election. Every day is big news out of the campaign, and we're happy that you were here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you some other time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Quickly, I just want to thank those that joined us today on this show. I appreciate all of you. And next Sunday, we are going to have, I know I promoted the representative, somebody coming from the government. He sent me a message that today, that they are very, very busy, but that he will try to make it. So hopefully next Sunday, we are going to have a senior advisor to the president on public engagement join us to talk about why he should run for second time and why people should vote for him. So if you can join us, we appreciate that. Let me also thank those that supported us today. It's very important. We are not doing well this month. I hope our people who work for us, they will get paid. Oriako Tope, thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much. Babajide, thank you so much. And Ebi, Thank you so much. Also, we have Mwachuku donated through Zelle, $20. Mwachuku, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Let me thank again our people behind the scene show. This is the executive producer, Ngozeka, and BK, and Ola, who is a graphic designer, and everybody, the other people who don't have an official role who are helping, including people you see on the screen today, right now, Forefathers and KJ. They all help in putting all these things together. We appreciate them. We don't say that enough, but we should be saying that. Again, thank you everybody who joined us. We really have to make sure we don't go over 4 hours. There's a technical reason why we have to do that. Thank you all, and I will see you next week.